Madness Podcast! The best of the underground! Make madness your ritual! Raising the blade, the flesh begins to
Oh, it's so scary. Awesome. I love it. Yes, very creepy. Hey, what's going on? It's Friday. How you guys doing? Thank you for joining us. Ritual Madness Podcast. What is it? Episode 297 or something like that? Pushing up on that 300 mark. Do me a favor. Check out the Lowbrow Saints Tattoo Collective, 3500 Minnehaha Avenue, Minneapolis, Minnesota. 612-353-4755. lowbrowsaints@gmail.com. And for the person who broke into their place just last night, Lowbrow Saints got broken into last night, and a lot of tattoos machines got taken from there. So if there's any love or anybody know anything out there, Jason did post some pictures of the machines that got taken, some of them anyways. But just after the holidays, you know, your boy gets ripped off from his tattoo shop. It's a pain in the ass, but if you guys can show some love, they are open Tuesday, Saturday, 12 to 7. Sunday and Monday are closed. Again, 3500 Minnehaha Avenue, Minneapolis. 612-353-4755 or lowbrowsaints@gmail. If you need some tattoo work done, please give them a shout. And we're live at the Shred Den Studios. Do me a favor, check out Shred Den. Open Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 11 to 5. 9100 85th Avenue North, Suite 100 in Brooklyn Park. 763-350-2191. theshredden.net. Come check them out. Lots of pointy and fancy guitars all over the place, right?
Yeah.
How you guys doing?
Good.
Doing good.
Good to see you guys.
Yes.
So let me see here. What was like? There's Jordan. Oh, there you guys are. So we're here to talk about your guys' Lock and Key Fitness.
Yeah. Definitely.
How actually, Allison, welcome. Like you've
Hi.
never been here before. Eric's been here before, so.
Yeah, first time.
So what's good? How did you get involved in all of this? Like how did you?
That's a loaded question.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, I was kind of always involved to some extent.
Yep.
I mean, Eric only got together because we both have a love of fitness, and so like I've been involved in fitness for a very long time. He started his company in 2020.
Yep.
And then I was running my marketing business, and we were kind of growing our business alongside each other.
Okay.
Did marketing for a while, and that was going all right, but I was like, I hate sitting at a desk all day, and I need to do more, and I need to do something a little more active and a little more creative.
Sure.
And so I was like, you know what? Your business is doing good. If we joined forces and combined my marketing skills and I got involved in training, and we combine forces and do this together, like, I mean, we'd be a total power couple.
Yeah, that was the idea.
Yeah, and it's, you know, it's been how many years now? Like at least.
Well, we're going on 5 because it's 2025.
I mean, 5 together, but like maybe 3 since I joined forces.
Yeah, like 3.5.
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah.
And yeah, it's just been the best decision we've made. And yeah, we've only grown since.
Yeah.
What type of fitness stuff were you involved in like previous to getting
Oh my gosh, everything. So I mean, I actually started out doing a lot of yoga. And then yoga kind of turned in on yoga and running, and then it turned into some like HIIT style strength training.
Explain what HIIT is.
High intensity interval training. So like quick spurts. It was a lot of like jumping around with weight training. Then I kind of started getting more serious about learning how to strength train, hypertrophy train properly. And then, you know, I'm all about like, I want to be able to do cool shit. So I was
now
like,
define cool shit.
Like, doing a handstand or something, a backflip, something crazy like that.
Gymnastic type stuff, calisthenic type stuff. Just, you're a pole fitness athlete.
Right, and that's exactly what led to pole
yep,
fitness. I was like, you know what, I want to be able to do badass shit. Like, what's the point of having, you know, looking good if you can't do shit with it?
Right.
So, yeah, and then so it got into pole fitness, and that would just turn into an instant obsession. And now it's kind of turned into this interesting thing where I am, like, training pole dancers.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yep. So
that's really cool.
She got into really deep into pole fitness. I've had the distinct kind of honor of watching her grow in that and kind of go from a absolute like novice, just very beginner, and like really honing her skills all the way up the ladder. And when we first met, she was training like a lot. She was kind of overtraining, and I kind of helped direct her a little bit and make some small changes in the direction she was going, and she saw like these crazy results right away. Mm-hmm. And then so it was like, oh, I think that sparked a lot of her desire to keep learning and to keep driving that, because she could see that it was going to only make her better as a pole athlete the more she continued to learn with that.
Right.
And then yeah, it only made sense when she was kind of sick of the sitting around of the marketing thing, and we just kind of looked at everything we were both doing, and everything she was doing was relevant to my business, and everything I was doing was things that would support her and the things she really wanted to be doing, which wasn't marketing. So it only made sense to kind of join forces, and we get along so well, and I think at the root of our relationship is a really, really solid friendship. Like, she's straight away my best friend, like,
right.
without a doubt. So our ability to work well together and like bounce ideas off each other and help each other grow and learn from each other is like a really huge part of everything else that we do that moves outward from our business to our clients. Like, when you sign up to work with us, you don't just get one coach, you get two, because we bounce everything off of one another behind the scenes. And if I've got a problem situation, or I'm dealing with, a difficult client scenario or whatever, and we talk about it. This is dinner table conversation for us.
Right, right.
We're super, super invested in it and super passionate about it. And it's literally from sun up to sundown what we do all day long. Like, it's there's really nothing else.
Yeah.
Like,
now you work at a vitamin shop too, right?
So our good friends Matt and Nicole, they own a GNC franchise location.
Okay.
In Brooklyn Park, Twin Cities Live Well, off 9686 Colorado Lane North, in Brooklyn Park, and yeah. So about 5 years ago, I was basically homeless and jobless. I had a pretty massive mental health collapse in that kind of started in 2016, went real bad in 2019, and then from there I was like picking up the pieces of my whole life. Like, I got divorced, I went through all this crap, spent time in the mental hospital, really like couch surfing, and kind of had nothing. And I knew that I wanted to start this fitness company. Is all I could think about, all I could obsess over, and I just had no means of really doing it. But we had started seeing each other in like November of 2019. Well, the pandemic kind of happened in March. And for me, that was a big, like that leveled the playing field. Like, right. Oh, now all these motherfuckers don't have jobs.
Right.
Like,
right,
so
right.
So we got stuck kind of both out at her parents' house in Wisconsin, in rural Wisconsin. And so all we had was time to like unfuck ourselves mentally, like myself particularly, and grow and like
just hone in on our
and
skills.
Develop this thing without really even knowing what it was we were going to do. We kind of just started chipping away at this whole deal. And by, December of 2020, I had a buddy, Tim Snook, old vocalist from Reaping, the first vocalist from Reaping.
Right.
He had a townhome here in Plymouth. He rented that to me. I had really no means of paying for it. So I worked like 3 jobs. I worked at GNC. They hired me kind of randomly. And with that job, it's not a crazy busy store.
Right.
I'm usually there for between 4 and 8 hours at a time. So, and there's not a ton of like big to-do lists to get done, right? It's small footprint, all that kind of stuff. So between customers, I was like just grinding, messaging people. Anybody who I saw talk about fitness on Facebook, I was messaging them, hey, do you want to work with me? I'm a coach at this. I set my prices real low, and like I just literally built it one client at a time while I was working at GNC. And I still work there, and we both still work there to this day. And honestly, I really could not have built anything and helped as many people as we've been able to if I wouldn't have had that there to like just, we talked about just before we started, the stability of having a regular job or a couple of regular jobs while you're trying to build something like this is super important. And we still maintain that to this day. And we love those guys. Shout out to Matt and Nicole in Twin Cities.
That's
Live
very
Well.
cool that you're able to do that.
Dude, they've put us on so much. Like, they put our flyers up at their register. They talk about us in their email blasts out to like 5,000 people. So they've been massive supporters of what we do. And
that's huge.
Couldn't thank them enough. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Because we've been fortunate to not have to put a whole lot of money into marketing our stuff.
We
been
gotta get real creative.
Yeah. Because we don't have a lot of money. Marketing's expensive as hell. So we've had to be diligent, consistent, creative, and like make sure we're posting every day. And I'm fortunate to be a part of the music scene. And my whole goal with this was to try to help as many people in our music scene, because I saw, it's not even really difficult to just take a step back and look that like metalheads and musicians need some help taking care of themselves. A lot of various issues in our amidst our group of people. And there's plenty of people that are straight-laced and put together well and everything like that too. And those people are something to aspire to. But most of us are in this because we're fucked up in one way or another,
Right.
and that's maybe a painful truth to come to or whatever, but it's the fucking truth. And
Right.
so my goal has always been to help as many people as I can, because I really love these people. I really love this scene. I really do. It's been a massive part of my life since I was, 17, 18 years old, and I really care about it, and so I want to help as many people as I can that we know, and I've had the opportunity to do that.
I see a lot of people, popping up in the news feeds lately with different programs that they've on. Eric, you worked with Eric.
In the past I worked with Eric McMahon, and so the vocalist of Courier, right? Yep. And so, I've had the pleasure of working with a whole bunch of us in the scene, and that's cool. That's my goal.
Well, I mean, just to help everybody thrive, man. That's always a good thing.
Yeah.
It's
rising tides, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
really pushing people to do better for themselves.
You can be a better creative if you're healthy,
right,
than if you're unhealthy. Straight away, like you can be a better creative. You can be better at everything.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I'm still learning new things about like how my nutrition is impacting like. So I was vegan for a very long time.
Yeah.
And then I switched to eating meat, and now like stupid things like getting up early is easier. Like I don't know why that is, but I mean it makes sense once more nutrients you're gonna.
Yeah,
get
your
like,
minerals and vitamins are on point. Your circadian rhythm is better because you've got better bioavailable vitamins and minerals in your body, and you're able to be more resilient.
Yeah. I really wish there was a way you could like give people the feeling of good nutrition for like a day, so they could understand how different they could feel. Yeah.
Yep.
Now, how do you guys apply, your personal like goals and approaches and all of that stuff to other clients? Like, how do you use your fitness goals and all the things that you've learned? How do you implement all of that stuff, and how do you get folks to adhere to that type of stuff? I know it's got to be difficult because you're trying to break people of these habits that they've their whole life they've done this, or have had a traumatic experience and they're using food as a crutch, or something of that, the comfort. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, absolutely. No, that's a great question. You want to take that? Or?
I mean, I would say it's mostly just by leading by example and hopefully inspiring people through that. It can be. I mean, I feel like when we both started out, there was like, we really care about people. So it was like a lot of like kind of almost overextending ourselves trying to help people who are not interested in being helped. So I think over the years we've kind of changed where it's more like we want to lead by example and hopefully inspire people in the process.
Yeah.
And hopefully also make them feel comfortable coming to talk to us about these things. But
right. Well, and I think when it comes to like how we use our experiences to help other people, I think that really for every person, like every individual is different, but the basics all remain the same.
Mm-hmm.
Like you need to have adequate protein in your diet, no matter who you are, what your situation is. And if you don't, all of the things that you suffer from, regardless of what they are, will be worse. Mm-hmm. So if that's autoimmune problems, if that's mental health problems, if that's issues with, fat loss, so if that's being overweight, obese, etc., all of those things can be the first place to start is what's your protein intake look like? Mm-hmm. Are you lifting any weights? How active are you? Like these things are basics no matter what situation, scenario there is. Like these are very much, what's your sleep look like? What's your day-to-day routine look like? Like why are you behaving the way you do? Like let's get down past the, oh, well, I just can't put food down, or I just can't, I can't do this, I can't do that. Let's talk about why you can't, or why you feel you can't. Sure. And then let me eliminate all those bullshit excuses for you with logic. Yeah. And
now, how do you get someone to like I guess open up about how bad they are with food? You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Like, do you have someone make a list of what they intake? I mean, obviously you said that, but like going through that whole thing has got to be kind of a daunting thing. You know what I mean? Like
it is.
You're really
it
looking
is.
at it.
What you have to remove judgment from any of it. You can't look at someone and like just like see issues. Sure. You have to get to the root of their humanity at first and foremost. Like you have to let them know that like you're a trusted person. You're not judging them.
Yeah.
That I was gonna say a lot of trust building.
Yeah, and like we don't like we know because we've been through it, like we know how hard it is out there for folks. We know how confused people are about what to eat or how to move. We know because we see the inner workings of it every day. And so our job is definitely to try to listen first and to try to understand rather than be understood. And no matter what your scenario is, it's almost always the case that a few simple tweaks are going to be the biggest game changers for everyone.
Right.
Instead of like getting all into the weeds about like, you know, how you feel about things or whatever. Like we want to know those things too, but really the facts and the approach of things, like the reality of things, are what we try to get down to. We take those feelings into account, you know, we welcome them. But we want to show you why you might be feeling the way you're feeling.
Right.
And kind of open windows and doors for you to look through and to walk through and create opportunities for you to make healthy choices for yourself. Just by simply providing information and education, you know, and listening. When you have an issue, like we're in the midst of, one of the benefits that you get by working with us is that you can pretty much text us anytime, and we're going to answer your questions within a reasonable amount of time.
Right.
You know, you'd go to doctor visits. Those are months in between each other, right?
Right.
So if you got a weight loss issue, you got a problem, you got some kind of stuff that's going on, you're going to wait 3 months to get into that doctor's office, talk to that doctor, and ask him the question for the 6.5 minutes you get to talk to him.
And he might not even know the best way to help you.
And they're going to go back and they're going to Google shit too. Because they only have like 7 minutes with you on average. So they're going to go back. If they don't know the answer, they're going to Google you. And then their job is to provide the most immediate relief possible, which is almost always going to be a drug intervention, because they aren't going to have the ability to follow up with your lifestyle. And most people are reticent to changing their lifestyle anyway. So doctors are going to do what they do best, and that's prescribe, because something. they can prescribe a blood pressure medication and they can see results instantly. Oh, your blood pressure went down. Hey, we got that fixed. No, you didn't. You didn't fix that. What you did is you gave me a pill that lowered my blood pressure, but it's going to hurt my kidneys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
like my liver, something.
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. So like everything like that is like a drop in the pond, right? And you create more downstream effects. Every pill you add to the pile, you start creating more and more downstream effects. This has got a side effect. Now you got to mitigate that side effect with this pill.
But trying to go back and figure that all
out,
pulling those things, man, that's
unwind that, yeah. And when reality is, like, for most folks, an elimination diet will help figure out a lot of that stuff, everything from mental health all the way to, and then you can start adding foods back in, you know, at a certain point, you know, autoimmune stuff, same thing. You can do an elimination diet, get rid of everything except for meat, and then just start adding things back in as you go, you know, so. But yeah, it is a daunting task to try to get folks to, you know, open up about their problems. And we just ask them point blank, very honestly, like, okay, what are your, you know, I've got trigger foods that, like, shit, man, if you put cheesecake in front of me, I'm not turning that down. I can't do it. It's not a real thing. Yeah. So we try to relate, like, we're just like you. Same problems, same issues. Yeah. We struggle with it too, you know. We've just been doing this a long time, which means we have the tools to help you do it and to navigate this. And the biggest service I feel like we provide is that we teach people how to pivot when things aren't perfect. Mm-hmm. That's the biggest thing, is like when life throws a curveball at you, because it fucking will, as we've all experienced, right? So how do we pivot and stay on point as best as possible and still continue to make progress? Because that's the thing that throws people off the most. Like they'll get on this, they'll start inching their way through these habits, and then there's a party, or there's a get-together, or a family gathering, or some kind of
holiday.
Shit. The holidays, right? And then you know, baby goes out with the bathwater. You know, just everything, just landslide. Yeah. You know, oh, I fucked it all up. No, you didn't. You're just fine. One day, one meal, or even a couple meals over a couple days, not going to make or break you.
Do you guys see that a lot? I mean, do you see people that you know, may have a slide like that? I mean,
oh yeah,
and they're just like, they just throw their arms up and they're like, I don't know what to do. I screwed up so bad. Like,
yeah, we've walked plenty of people back off that cliff. Like, yeah, and it's always usually kind of irrational. You know, it's. People have a poor relationship with food a lot, you know, and that's not entirely their fault, as we're kind of coming to understand that the food companies basically, after the tobacco companies got called out for smoking being bad, And then the Surgeon General finally came out in the 80s, in like 89, I think it was, and was like, okay, for real though, tobacco is cancerous. This shit's bad, you know, and they started putting the warning labels on stuff. Well, those same tobacco companies went and bought up all the food companies.
And enriched everything.
And yeah. And then they enriched everything with all kinds of food dyes that are made from petroleum products, all kinds of, I mean, you name it. There's 10,000 chemicals that are allowed to be used in American food supply. You know how many are in Europe? 450 is all they can use in Europe.
Look at like sugar.
Yeah.
For the longest time, they were like, "Oh, sugar's not bad.
Yeah.
Sugar's not doing these things."
Yep.
Then recently, in the last 10 years, they're like, "Yeah, it was doing those."
Yeah, it was doing those things, and we knew it was doing those things, and we took money. The Mayo Clinic in Minnesota took money in like the 60s to from the sugar industry to villainize saturated fat. They even got the American Heart Association in on it.
Go with it.
To go with it. Yep. And so money talks and bullshit walks, and nobody cares about facts. They just care about lining their pockets. So that's what you need to know about the U.S. food supply, is that if you are using your hard-earned resources to fuel yourself with ultra-processed and super-processed nonsense, you're going to feel like shit, and you're going to end up in the Western healthcare system. And I don't know if you've ever had to navigate the American healthcare system, but it's as bad as that South Park episode describes it as.
Pretty much
it deserves its own theme song.
Oh, yeah.
We've just been dealing with it this past week. Like, it's insanity. And going to an emergency room and looking at how full they all are is wow.
Well, that's why we were trying to avoid it too. It was like, it's going to be hours.
Yeah.
And then it was days.
Yeah, and then it ended up being days. But
I'm glad you were able to make it, because I know it was like one of those things, like, holy shit. And that's what I thought too. I was like, man, I hope she's okay. And then you're like, well, we'll see how you heal, because you had to go back like this week, right, to get checked out to make sure.
I did, yeah. And everything's good. Everything's all good. But yeah, I was sitting there in that hospital bed, and I was like, wow, I never want to be here again.
Yeah.
Such a scary situation, man. You know what I mean? Like, I never thought it was a bad place as a kid. And then you know, like, things happen and you're like, they don't know shit.
Yeah,
like,
dude.
We've got a list that it could be this, it could be this. You know, dude, I can look on the internet and find the same thing.
You know, so much of that stuff is guesswork, man. Like, it just really is.
Yeah. It's like, do whatever you can to never have to end up there if you can avoid it. Like,
Now with you guys having all this knowledge of food and you know, proteins and the bad things that are in food and all of that other shit, it has to be a Rubik's Cube when you meet someone at first and you're talking to them and you get them to make the list, or you go through the list with them and their trigger points and what, you know, all the stuff that they need in their life. I need this, you know, this is my, you know, I love Oreos right before I go to bed, you know, that type of shit, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But it's got to be like a Rubik's Cube, because there's so much shit in the food nowadays, and there's so much shit that people put in their bodies, alcohol and drugs and just everything, and things are prescribed to you.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And you hear this stuff about Ozempic, and what blows me away is like, I've always shared the stuff that you've put out there, because I know that you're doing you want to do the best thing for the people around you, and you know, to see people live longer, be healthy, that type of stuff. It blows my mind to think that we go to the grocery store every single day and we put all this shit into our carts and we don't even think about it. You know,
right.
You see these little snippets online where they're like, hey, if you want to lose weight, I've been eating this, but look what it says right there, enriched. And then you start to, you know, like, it has to be like a Rubik's Cube to put all these things together and go, well, we've got the green side and that's all we need for right now.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
to get to the blue side.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So it's got to be a crazy task to do that.
It is, but again, like, it's another one of these things where if you make it a Rubik's Cube, it'll be that. Right. But really, you can strip it down. One of the things that we provide our clients with is a grocery list. That simplifies things for them. It breaks it into, you know, what grains to buy and how to prepare them. It breaks it into what proteins to buy and how to prepare them. And we pretty much tell folks, like, you can eat as much of you as you want from this list, and the rest of it we got to talk about. You know, whatever else you want to eat, we can. It doesn't have to be insanely restrictive. And it doesn't have to be even like, you don't have to cut out all carbohydrates. But if you have insulin resistance and you're dealing with the lack of the ability to lose weight,
down, right?
and like, yeah, you're struggling with weight loss, we're going to be a little bit more stringent about what you get and when,
Yeah,
you know?
right.
And if you're, but no matter what your body composition is coming in, we're going to focus on building muscle.
Right.
Because building muscle, like if we bring everything down to brass tacks, building muscle is the most metabolically healthy thing you can do for yourself long term.
Right.
Skeletal muscle mass burns more calories at rest than adipose tissue does, and you know, the density of muscle and the energy that is transferred through that in order to maintain and grow and repair it, that helps keep your mitochondria healthy, which is your cell, the little power plant that's inside of every single cell in your body. It needs to be able to turn energy over, push old energy out and replicate itself and create new energy.
Gotcha.
And one of the reasons why we store body fat is because the things we eat, there ends up being an excess of insulin and sugar in our blood, right? Well, then our liver creates these triglycerides, big fatty cells, to go out and grab that extra insulin that we can't currently use as fuel, and then store it away for later as fat. So if you're metabolically healthy, your body is able to turn that energy over in such a way that the body doesn't store it as fat.
Gotcha.
But if you've overexposed your body to carbohydrate and sugar, then you get this thing called insulin resistance, where you no longer metabolize insulin as well, and that's a function, like a metabolic dysfunction that starts happening, and that's the biggest driver of chronic disease. But if you're lifting weights and eating adequate protein and being selective about your carbohydrate choices and getting junk food and bad oils out of your food, you can fix all of that shit.
No shit.
Really easily, really easily. I mean, I can use Tony Lent as a perfect example.
Okay.
Right? Dude comes to me with a stroke from a vaccine injury, basically, right? And ends up being told he's going to be on statins forever, so cholesterol medication forever. He's going to be on blood pressure medication forever. He's never going to be able to lift weights and walk again.
Dude,
and do all this kind of stuff.
All I hear is ching,
Yeah,
ching.
exactly. Doctor appointment after doctor appointment. He's for a year he's dealing with this stuff. Massive headaches. He's getting all kinds of migraines and all this kind of stuff. Within, I want to say, let's say 6 months. He signs up to work with me for a year. He just comes to me. He's like, dude, I'm so sick of these doctor's appointments. I'm so sick of this bullshit and feeling like crap. I just want you to help me get this, get my life back. And I want to get in really good shape. And he's determined. I mean, dude was broken. Like his shit was messed up. And we ended up getting him inside of 6 months. We got him off all those fucking pills. And dude dropped 65 pounds or something like that. And now he couldn't walk half a mile when he started with me, and now he walks like 3-4 miles a day.
Damn.
He lifts weights 5-6 days a week. He's jacked. He's getting more jacked all the time. His blood work looks fantastic. His doctors are even surprised. The only thing that he has, he's got.
How
Because-
are you surprised?
Yeah.
And you're not prescribing somebody to work on themselves like that.
I know.
Here, have a pill. And
Yeah. It blows my mind every single time I do it too, that we go through the process with somebody. And it's literally astounding to see the turnaround. Like
Right, and it's like, well, we can't claim to cure anything.
No.
But
no, but we
it
can help
works
you.
insanely well. It
Yeah,
works
we can
insanely
improve
well.
you. We can improve your health immensely.
So I got a question about fasting.
Yeah.
Now, you hear like people using different time frames between the fasts and things like that,
Right.
and that it resets a lot of that stuff too. That it helps you reset better.
Sure.
If you do it properly. I'm not. Is there? Any,
I mean, it's really nothing magic, honestly.
Sure.
It's just not eating.
Right.
It's literally all it is. And so for some folks, it helps them create a caloric deficit of between 250 and 750 calories, 800 calories, sometimes 1,000, depends on the person. But it helps them, create especially when there's a poor relationship to food. If we set some boundaries and we say if the person's struggling, with cravings and things like that, some folks do better with like a feeding window.
Okay.
So we kind of try to approach it more of like a feeding window than a time you can't eat.
Okay.
Like we try to add instead of subtract.
Okay.
What more can we do?
Sure.
or what can we add to your routine instead of take away?
Now, how about multiple meals a day? How does that whole thing break down? Is there
So-
3 set meals? Are there snacks in between? Are there things, because I know that I've always heard that you eat more, but you do it in these increments or whatever.
Yeah. So most people that come to us straight up are underfed.
Okay.
Even the bigger folks that
Yeah.
come, like they're almost always underfed, undernutrient, undervitamined, and those are the things that most people need
Right.
to be able to put the metabolism kind of pieces back together
Right.
and to start working properly. So when it really doesn't matter is, I guess, the biggest point is that there's so many different ways to tackle this,
Mm-hmm.
and there's so many different ways to get back to the basics that's why it's so cool to work with someone like us, is because you can tell us, we ask you questions about your life,
Sure.
about how you live, and we can arrange everything in a way that's super convenient for you and that doesn't feel like a restriction at all. It still allows you to eat some of your best food, your favorite foods that maybe junk a little bit, or we have good swaps that, like a don't eat this, not that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And people are astounded by like when they make the swaps, they're like, oh, that's just as good, and I feel twice as good,
Right.
when I
Right.
eat it. Like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, cool. But yeah, the most ideal thing, because we focus on building muscle in our programs, the most ideal situation for building muscle is to keep a full spectrum of amino acids, which are the building blocks of proteins,
Okay.
running through the blood in the body about consistently. So that means about a feeding every 3 to 4 hours of high protein.
Okay.
So we focus on getting that. But if that's not convenient for you, if you can't, get 4 to 5 meals in a day, then we'll figure out how to do it with 2 meals and how to time it right. We'll figure out, we don't like to do that with 2 meals or even 1 meal, because this whole 1 meal a day thing is super popular in a lot of circles and people are trying that. But
Well, and that kind of goes hand in hand with fasting. And
Yeah.
and on that note too, there was a study that recently came out that was saying that fasting can help your digestion get caught up. But in that same regard, I would argue if you need your digestion, if your digestion needs help getting caught up, there's something else going on, metabolically, that you need help with.
right, yep. Yeah, for sure.
Now would that be like protein uptake? Like you want to take more protein when it comes to that stuff?
Yeah, you definitely want more protein. Yeah, because protein's very satiating. It's challenging. It requires more energy for the body to break down. It used to be this thing where we even recently as recently as last year, where we would talk about the thermic effect of food of protein and how it was higher. So basically, that it takes more energy, so it gets hotter when you are digesting it, essentially. For it to break down. But what we kind of know now is that thermic effect of food, protein, isn't enough versus carbs and fats, the other macronutrients, to be the difference maker about protein. They still
Right.
kind of don't understand
Well,
entirely.
And I think the difference maker of protein is a combination of several things.
Yeah, yep.
You're going to be fuller when you eat more protein, which then those nightly Oreos might not be as appealing.
Right. Yep, exactly. Yep. You swap out nightly Oreos for full-fat Greek yogurt with honey and berries on it, you'll never go back to eating fucking Oreos again.
Right.
Yeah, it's the best
Even
goddamn...
if you do your Greek yogurt and honey, and then you have one Oreo
Yeah,
crumbled up in
crush an
there,
Oreo
and
up
that's what
into
you need
that.
to do. That's
Just to
gonna-
add the-
yeah.
Yeah.
To
gonna help you-
catch you with
having
it.
having
Right.
that protein with is gonna help balance your blood
Well,
sugar. Yep.
yeah. So when you eat protein with carbohydrates, these things are all meant to be taken in together. Human beings are omnivorous creatures.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck what anybody says.
Right.
Carnivore or keto, or I'm cutting my carbs out. Those things all have their place and purpose, but human beings are an omnivorous creature. We do best when we digest. There's something different that happens when you eat proteins, carbs, and fats together. The protein helps blunt the blood sugar spike of the carbohydrate. The fats help with the hormone balance and everything like that, and aid with digestion and make sure that everything is being run through the system appropriately.
Motility,
Motility wise, everything works hand in hand with everything else. It's very symbiotic. We've had this thing in Western medicine where we've all of a sudden siloed the body into these different segments. It's I've got an arm doctor, I've got a nose doctor, I've got a sinus doctor, I've got a foot doctor.
Right.
It's fuck, man, it's all one thing. It's all one thing made up. It's a car.
Yeah.
It's literally
Yeah.
there's a fuel injection system there, and
Right.
and shit doesn't work right. If one thing's not working, nothing's working right.
Right.
Essentially.
Right.
So it all kind of plays in together, and And again, that's where all the lifestyle choices kind of come in, because you can turn on and off different genetic markers or things you might be more susceptible to based on your lifestyle.
Wow.
Those switches flip based on the choice that you make if you choose the pizza and the beer versus the chicken, broccoli, and rice and the, orange juice or whatever,
Right.
like I'm thinking like comparable carb-heavy beverages, essentially.
Sure.
Those are both different life choices that lead down different paths, and two different people with similar like makeups of their genetics and stuff.
Right.
Like twins, for example, you could take them and feed them both. Each goes down a different pathway, and you'll see the differences right before your eyes.
Insane.
Yep. Yep. But yeah, I mean, the grocery list helps, obviously, sort out what foods to buy. We've gone as far as like going to the grocery store with clients. I've done that plenty of times. We hear a lot of times that people don't know what to eat. Oh, I don't know what to eat. I promise you fucking do. You just have forgotten. I keep saying that. You've been confused by fast food convenience delivery, by bullshit like Chipotle pretending to be fucking healthy when there's 3 grams of rice bran oil and they cook their steak and their fucking chicken in sunflower oil, and that's highly inflammatory stuff. So you're basically eating oxidized inflammatory oils when you're eating all that stuff, and that's causing all this inflammation, which is driving all this chronic disease and metabolic dysfunction. And then here we are, right? We're now at the spot where there's over 60% of Americans are dealing with one form of chronic disease or another.
Damn.
And that's a really shitty place to be at, like for a state of health. I mean, you think about a country as big as ours and as wealthy as ours, and how the fuck did we
It's
get...
all about that,
yeah,
too,
How the fuck did we get here, And we absolutely know what to do. Like, we do.
Yeah.
We just have forgotten. You just have forgotten, and you're not making the choices.
Yeah, and you're bamboozled by everything coming at you every day. And you see, like, all this stuff about Ozempic, and you see all these things that... And what's really sad is, like, through time, everybody seems to want this magic potion or magic diet or magic cure to get this, I want to lose weight now, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Instead of really putting the work in and making a list and figuring out what all that is.
Yep.
And you guys basically have done all the work for, you don't have to put all that time into it. You guys are the wellspring for it.
Yep. One of the first things that I tell clients to do is I have them, and a lot of times I have them like take a picture or do a video of this, but I'll have them, okay, I want you to take out all of the food that's in your cupboards. I want you to take it all out of your cupboards, all out of your fridge, and I want you to put it all on your countertops and on your kitchen table. I want you to take a look at all that. All of that food and all of those things that you're going to eat right now, that's everything your body is going to become, your body and your brain.
Right.
And every organ in your body, your skin, your eyes, it's all going to become that.
Right.
And if you look at that, is that what, like, look at the things that are on your counter. Do you really think that you want to be made of those things? Because that's what you're going to be made of.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Your tissues will become those things,
Right.
like as resilient as that stuff is. And most of the time, that kind of puts things into perspective for folks. And they're kind of like, oh, shit. Yeah, I don't want to be Oreos.
Right.
I want
to be a Pop-Tart.
Yeah, I don't want to be a Pop-Tart. I don't. I want to...
Unless you're brown sugar.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Unless you're melted butter, then it's good to be a Pop-Tart. Yeah. But fuck, man. I mean, all that stuff is fucking delicious. It's designed to be delicious.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
designed... It's a trap.
You've got,
it's a fucking trap.
billions of dollars working against you to make that food, like, I don't want to say, like, as addictive, but as, like, satiating as possible.
Well, as hyper palatable as possible.
Hyper palatable, yeah. That's the way to put it.
Yeah. It's not satiating at all.
Yeah, I was gonna say
The
that's not the right
convenience
word.
of it, and then
Yep.
you factor in the price too. It's
Yep.
well, I mean, everything's gone up these days, but it's so much quicker, easier, more convenient to stop and get, McDonald's versus
Mm-hmm.
making chicken and rice at home.
Right.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
and it's honestly, I would say it's not even convenient to get McDonald's anymore because it's so expensive. Like, it's not
Yeah,
Dick.
cheap anymore. Like,
So ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly.
But for
Yeah.
the longest time, it
Oh, yeah. Dollar menu and all
Yeah,
that kind of stuff
for
back
sure.
then.
and it's ready now.
now, yeah.
Yep.
Especially if you work at a place that has limited lunch breaks. You have a half hour.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
You have a half hour to go get food, eat it, and then come back.
Yep.
You're gonna pick
Yeah. Yeah.
the quick and easy option.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but if you put in 4 hours on a Sunday prepping your meals, you're going to save yourself 10 hours on average throughout the week. Most of the time, what meal prepping does is it eliminates decision fatigue.
Explain meal prepping.
So-
I know it's all over the place, and everybody, like, when you say it, they're like, "Oh yeah, you put everything in a plastic thing." You know,
Yeah. I mean, you're basically
deal,
you're portioning out your foods. So what we do, we give most folks, basically the way that if you want to lose weight, just let's say in general, we're gonna have you eat, high protein, probably 1 gram of protein, per pound of body weight. Unless past a certain point, but if you're heavy enough, we're not having you eat 360 grams of protein a day, right? So we're gonna probably put you at like 170 or 180, some kind of reasonable, maybe 200, 220 or something like that, some kind of more reasonable number. But so if we're gonna do that, we're gonna have you eat basically like 1 gram of carbohydrate per pound of goal body weight as a starting point, basically, and we're gonna base that off your energy level. So we ask you about like what you do for work, how active you are, so we can kind of get a baseline determination of like what your daily energy expenditure is, and then we're going to take that like and consider your non-exercise activity. So that's your non-exercise activity. Then we're going to talk about how many times a week you're training and how you're going to be able to recover from that. And so that's going to be where we kind of decide how much carbs and fats you're gonna get, but your protein is gonna stay the same. So what we do then is, for a meal prep situation, is we look at those macro numbers. We give you those X amount of grams of protein, fats, and carbohydrates, and then we choose the most nutrient dense foods around those numbers. And then you would take several hours on one day of your choosing where you have some free time, and you would prep out 10 to 12, 5 to 12 meals, depending on what your needs are, of different foods. You would cook everything all at once and pre-portion everything out, and then you would have it ready to go for the work week. You'd be able to grab. So then it wouldn't matter if you only get 30 minutes for lunch, because you've eliminated that excuse. You no longer can be like, oh, well, I just want to hit McDonald's real quick. Whatever, dude. You got a microwave right here. Fuck it, eat it cold. Suck it up. Do you want to lose this weight or not? Do you want to get healthier or not? Okay. Well, I guess I'm eating fucking chicken and cold rice and broccoli today or whatever, and it doesn't have to be that torturous or anything like that. Like, our clients eat a lot of good fucking food.
Give me an example of like what you would suggest for a meal prep.
Right before we came here for a meal prep, I would prep I'd grab like a flat of chicken thighs.
Okay.
From preferably so here's the kicker of everything. Especially for meats and stuff like that, the difference in price at like a Whole Foods versus a Cub or a Hy-Vee or anything like that is literally pennies. Okay. But the quality difference for those pennies is insane. The better quality of the food at Whole Foods, especially when it comes to the meat department.
Okay.
So I suggest going to like Costco or to Whole Foods and getting your meat. Okay. So you get a flat of chicken thighs. You cook all those up. You have a rice cooker or cook up a bunch of rice, a pot of rice for your carbohydrate, and then you pick your veggies of choosing, and you saute them up probably in some olive oil or avocado oil, and season them up. Season everything up real nice. I think one of the newest ones that we've been doing is like a chili lime type chicken or whatever.
Sure.
Kind of what we've been doing lately, but yeah, you just pick a protein, you pick a starch. If you're on a fat loss diet, potatoes work, like boiled potatoes, mashed potatoes work really well because they kind of become a little bit more of a resistant starch, which is a little bit less of an impact on the blood sugar.
Now, I'll clarify, because I'm sure you're talking about real potatoes.
Real potatoes.
Not bagged potatoes.
Not bagged potatoes.
Because that's like real bad for you.
Yeah, bagged potatoes, they've got a bunch of extra stuff. Yeah. A lot of like the bagged potato products especially are already cooked, right? So that you're just heating them up when you cook them. So they're already cooked, and they're almost always fried in vegetable oils.
Right.
Which again is super highly inflammatory. And more evidence there. I get a lot of shit about that vegetable oil thing, the seed oil thing, because there's not a lot of like human studies that have shown their detriment quite yet. But there's a lot of evidence to look at. If you look at the introduction of those oils and you zoom way out, 300 million people across time. Okay.
Gotcha.
If you zoom out to when seed oils and these vegetable oils were introduced into the food system,
right,
and you look at the chronic disease elevation and escalation in the country, they're literally they're parallel lines.
Wow.
They go up at the same fucking rate. Even when you take sugar out of the equation,
Wow.
the obesity still keeps going up and the chronic disease still keeps going up as long as these seed oils are in the mix. Yeah. So things like grapeseed, rapeseed, canola, your vegetable oil, which can be in a bunch of different kinds of things.
Usually a blend.
A blend, of stuff. Particularly when these oils are like in restaurants, they're all used because they're super cheap. But when they're heated up and cooled down and heated up and cooled down for a week straight, by the time they finally clean that oil out, that oil is pretty much worthless. It's oxidized to hell. It's got all kinds of, we keep chasing you keep hearing stuff about antioxidants, right? Oh, get plenty of antioxidants, all this kind of stuff. Well, that's to combat all of the inflammation that is coming from consuming oxidized oils, the oils that are already broken down through temperature, right? Their cellular structure, they create, when you consume those, it creates free radicals in the system. And then you got to get antioxidants to go out there. Glutathione is the body's primary antioxidant. It's got to go out there and zap all this stuff, and kind of in an attempt to try to like break down this level of inflammation. The inflammation is really what's driving a lot of the poor state of health in most folks. Like
your
their immune
body's
system
losing that war.
Your immune system is basically just on fire and attacking itself and attacking healthy tissues all the time. Like when you're eating like that, and if you just cut that shit out.
And you pound it with sugar too, and that's like they're saying like cancer's like
fueled by sugar almost entirely. Like
that's insane.
And the amount of things in a lot of processed foods that become sugar, like the ingredients list can like the nutrition label can say, total carbohydrates X grams, but in the other ingredients in the fine print, there's other things in there that they don't have to list that actually contribute to the total carbohydrate.
Damn.
That they don't have to put in that number because it's a byproduct. Like maltodextrin, for example, is a corn byproduct that's a sugar. Any kind of soluble fibers, those are all, they convert to sugar in the system, but they aren't marking those on the total grams of carbohydrates on the nutrition label.
Right.
So you're really consuming more.
Well, and that corn byproduct or the corn that they're using
it's all
too,
GMO.
is all modified, right?
Correct.
So everything's completely different.
Mm-hmm.
So
the way your body
add
takes
another
it in.
side to that Rubik's Cube.
Exactly. So again, this is why it's so important to break things down to the basics and remind folks that they know how to fucking eat. They really do already know how to eat. It's whole foods.
The last 150 years.
Yeah, just take out the last 150 years of industrialized food production, and then that's what you eat. Like that's for the most part. There's some processed foods that are very valuable, very healthy. Whey protein powder and your protein powders and stuff. That's a really valuable addition to folks' diet, and that's a super processed product. Same thing with yogurt and stuff. So you can't like just attach this, devil label on processed foods. There's some benefit to some of them, but again, it's just like. Calories matter and calories count and everything, but the quality of your calories actually probably matter more when it comes to health than counting them themselves. I mean, you can eat as much as you want off our client grocery list, and you'll see good results.
Wow.
Because you won't be able to overeat those foods. Like those foods are satiating. There's fiber involved. It's like helping mitigate. There's high protein.
And that's something that's really difficult too, man. When you're switching your diet up and like you just feel empty, like you're not getting as much as you. I guess it has to be filling you up with bad shit.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like here, this is, drop this heavy weight on you, and it stays with you for a long time because you're not breaking it down fast enough.
Right. Yeah. Yep. But it doesn't stay with you because it actually.
Like nutrition ways.
Right. Nutritionally, it doesn't stay with you. And the thing is, with most of that ultra-processed stuff, particularly like, the snack foods especially, like they're basically designed so that by the time you feel full eating those things, you've actually overeaten by between 500 and 1,000 calories.
Damn.
Like that food is designed to be that way. That the whole like Pringles, once you pop, you can't stop thing, like that's not just good marketing. Like there's science involved. They spend billions of dollars with making this stuff in labs. There's that scene in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, where I don't know if anybody caught it, but like Chevy Chase works for a cereal company in there.
Okay.
And he works for a food science company in there, and he's talking about when he's in the office talking with his buddy that works there right before that scene where he's like, Merry Christmas, kiss my ass, kiss his ass,
Right.
Happy Hanukkah, all that stuff.
Yeah.
He's talking about how he made a non a cereal varnish that keeps the crunch in the cereal for a really long time, and it's like that's no bullshit. Like that, a varnish. He calls it that, like an industrial varnish, and that's a real thing. Like,
how did you catch that? Were you just like?
I'm just always paying attention to bullshit like that. Yeah, I mean, I caught that years ago. I was like, cereal varnish, and then I looked it up. And
Now,
it's like,
as you're going though, and you're learning about this stuff, you're like, that was not a lie.
That wasn't a lie. Yeah,
They're trying to tell us without telling us.
Yeah, it's a joke. It's all a conspiracy. No, it's fun though. Like,
well, it's crazy
catch
because you can dial back on all of the stuff that you're talking about. You know, the corn stuff, the sugar stuff, all of that. That is big money shit. You know,
yeah.
We're addicted to sugar.
Yeah.
You know, that's like the hardest thing. I've quit smoking. I've quit drinking. I've quit doing blow. I quit doing all this other shit.
Yeah.
But sugar, clearly, I have not quit. You know what I mean?
And it's not even that sugar's bad necessarily.
Right.
Like
honey, natural maple syrup.
Yeah, these things actually improve your ability to process insulin, like for whatever reason or another. And it's not this whole like, well, it's nature, all this kind of thing. It's not that. It's like there's actual nutrients in it. That's why it's it's
unless you use a metal spoon, right?
Yeah.
Because it kills everything, right? With honey.
You're
supposed to use the wooden.
Yeah, you use a wooden spoon or the actual honey dripper or whatever.
Is that true?
Yeah. Or you just squeeze it right out of the if the honey gets on the.
Just squeeze it right out of it. Usually.
Yeah.
The only reason I know that is because I was making mead for a while. And it always popped up. And it was like, hey, you don't want to use metal with this. Don't put it in a metal bowl. Never, you know what I mean? Like when you're heating it up and getting, because you have to warm it up to get it into different things.
States, all the different temperatures and stuff like that. Yep. You got to watch the metal connection with the honey.
Sure. And if with honey, it all depends on where in the area that they're help your immune system too.
Right. If it's local and raw and organic, those are the things you want to look for the most. You also want to make sure you check the back of any bottles of honey, because especially like the ones that are shaped like bears and stuff like that. Yeah. So that stuff a lot of times is actually cut with canola oil. Or high fructose corn syrup,
because they don't want it to crystallize, correct?
Well, they cut it with it's cheap to put high fructose corn syrup in with the honey, and they don't even use to list it.
Crazy.
It's not even. It doesn't. Sometimes it'll say honey and high fructose corn syrup on the label, but I would buy honey from actual beekeepers, or again like
support that local stuff too, man. That's awesome.
Or organic raw
it's so
honey,
much better too.
Way tastier.
Yep.
Way tastier.
Yep. And it never goes bad. Like real organic, like real raw honey, it never goes bad.
Right.
It's literally shelf stable forever.
Didn't they find that like honeycombs in Egyptian?
Egyptian tombs,
tombs and shit.
Yep. And really, at the end of the day, you're never gonna convince me. Like all of this nutritional science, all of these studies and all this kind of stuff, all of that stuff is funded by, and even the medical journals these days are compromised. The big food companies are like, when they publish a study,
cash, man.
They don't have to show you all of the times that that study failed before they got the desired result that they want. They do that study 50 times and only show you the one where they got the outcome they desired.
Right.
And the NIH and stuff like that hasn't had a focus on chronic disease or doing anything. It's all been gain of function research and biological weapons and stuff like that. Right. Like, why aren't we studying food and why we're so sick?
And then the other half of that is we kind of have stepped away from common sense and are only paying attention to studies.
Right.
Now it's like, so but the thing with seed oils is like, we don't have a lot of research on it yet, but you also don't need a third party
randomized controlled
study to tell you that you shouldn't be eating hexane bleach and deodorizers.
Yeah.
Like,
it doesn't seem like eating oil that, first off, there's not a whole lot of fat in these seeds to begin with, the oil to take from them. Like, you take an olive, you can squeeze an olive and get the juice out. It's technically a fruit juice, right? You can do that in real time. Avocado, you can actually press an avocado and get the oil out of it, and that's good for you. Those are good kind of oils or whatever. And beef tallow is rendered, so it's rendered down from it's rendered down.
I have tallow in my fridge.
Nice.
Awesome. And so beef tallow is rendered. That's really good for you because, again, like, there's vitamins and minerals in that can actually help fuel your body. And ghee butter, regular grass-fed butter, these things have been like, oh, saturated fat's the devil, basically. It's like,
Right.
no, man, it's not. Like,
Now, how does that work though, man? You know, like it always seems like there's some kind of boogeyman out there that people are, you know, they're like, you could have this for so long, and then it was like, no, this will give you cancer. No, this.
Yeah,
you
I
know.
mean, it just comes down to poor incentive structures and capitalism, man. Like, and it's not that capitalism's all bad or anything like that. I mean, there's definitely ways to go about doing it. You know, it's the right way and the wrong way. You know, without getting too like political or anything like that. But yeah, it's just humans operating on an incentive structure, and the incentive is
Put the carrot in front of somebody.
yeah, really. I mean, that's what it is. And I think there's people that work for those food companies and the NIH, and there's good people with just good intentions, but the systems that they operate in themselves are just piss poor. And we, in the clickbait future that we live in, everything comes down to driving the dollar through fear.
Right.
You know, and oh, don't eat this, don't eat that. Eat this plant-based burger instead, and the plant-based burger ends up being made of all sorts of bullshit that, you know, 25 ingredients that are not good for you anyway, and they're somehow saying that this is going to save the planet, and they attach it to all these different political and ideological attachments when it shouldn't be that issue at all.
Right.
This is not a political or an ideological problem.
But it's a way to hook people.
But it's a way to hook people. It's a way to hook people and convince them. We can't tell you how many people we get come to us and they think that they're making good, healthy decisions, when in reality they're listening to the wrong frequency of essentially of information coming through the door. You know?
I mean, with that though, I mean, it's very difficult these days to find the real source, or you know, where did you hear that from? You know,
Right.
where are you getting your information from? You
Yeah.
know? And everybody's quick to like shit on you for this or that, or where you're getting your information from, because
Right.
you know it leans this way or that way, and I always hate going that way because just in our conversation though, it does seem like it's a bigger problem. It's more of a money problem than anything. Like we're getting roped into being sick so we can be roped into paying for these medications and for these things that we have to have.
Yep.
And I've always thought it was so crazy that, hey, we have this one pill that is supposed to help you with this, but these underlying things may come up, and you could be one in 5,000 or 1 in 10 or 1 in 3.
Yeah,
that can be really affected by this. You know?
A perfect example of this is statins for cholesterol, right? So statins are the most prescribed drug on the planet, and the idea is that because elevated levels of LDL cholesterol, exposure over time, and also like high triglycerides and low HDL cholesterol, shows with the lens that cholesterol's been viewed through from the scientific community, it appears that exposure to elevated levels of LDL cholesterol is a bad thing and has a detrimental effect on cardiac health. It's made to be, or made to look like, it's a driver of cardiovascular disease. However, one of the main reasons why they came to this is back when they were first investigating heart attacks in the early 20s, and I think it was like maybe even started in the late 1800s.
Okay.
They would do autopsies on the people that would have massive heart attacks, and they would see all of this. They would find all this cholesterol caked inside of their vascular system. And so they presumed that the cholesterol is what clogged the arteries and what caused the heart attack. Is that the clogged arteries, constricted blood flow, a piece breaks off, gets stuck in the heart chamber, heart goes into attack mode, and, boom, you're done.
Yep.
Right? However, what's being kind of discovered now through things like something Nick Norowitz is a researcher at Harvard. He's developed what's called the lipid energy model, which basically has shown that it's more likely the case that LDL cholesterol, which is produced by the liver, is actually there, and it gets elevated because it's combating inflammation in the system. It's the firefighter. It's not the arsonist. It's there. And so when you have a heart attack, what actually probably happens is that your body releases a fuckload of LDL cholesterol like a fire extinguisher trying to put out the fire. So then when you take a statin, you're lowering the thing that's out there. Almost everybody who has a heart attack's on a fucking statin. Why? If the statin works, why the fuck aren't they? Why are they not having less heart attacks?
Right.
Why is cardiovascular disease still skyrocketing in a percentage and a rate?
Right.
Again, like, we don't need a randomized control study to like put these pieces together and to ask these questions, And so with that, then you've got this entire industry that's been built around prescribing statins.
Right.
Well, then they prescribe a statin, and then your bone density starts having problems, or your kidneys start having problems, or your blood pressure pressure goes up. And so then they got to get you another pill. Oh, we're going to get you this. And it's like we talked about before. Next thing you know, you've got this
12
stack.
pills
You're
a day,
on
yeah.
12 fucking pills. You know, the average person my age, I'm 43. I'm going to be 43 in July, is on like 5 to 6 medications average in this country. That's crazy. That shouldn't be the case.
Really crazy.
Yeah, you should not. I don't have bad knees. I don't have a bad back. I'm not on any fucking medications. And so I everything I do, knock on wood, everything I do is, you know, I live by this stuff, you know, every single day. I eat well. I make sure that I try to get as much sleep and rest as I can. I lift weights regularly. So when people come to us and they want to work with us, we live by this stuff, and our health is kind of our own billboard, you know, about it. It's not going to be easy for anyone to change these habits, but that's why having help is so helpful. Is having someone like Allison or myself in your corner to bounce ideas off of, you know, to ask, oh man, you know, I'm at the grocery store and I'm really confused. Should I get this thing or that thing? You know, and we're gonna tell you, get the fuck out of the cereal aisle. You don't need any.
You don't need that lacquer.
You don't need any goddamn cereal varnish. Like, you've had enough.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And again, you know, it's about not judging folks for making the choices.
So, Allison, I wanted to ask you, like, how did you go from being what would you say, a vegan before?
Oh yes, yeah. So I was plant-based for like 15 years, vegetarian for half, vegan for half. And I mean, this is gonna be a very long story if you really want to get into it.
I've been talking enough.
Well, so I had an eating disorder as a kid. So I was like, you know, anorexia, bulimia from very young age up until, I really didn't get over it until I started dating Eric, honestly. But so I had an eating disorder, got very sick, and then I basically went from not eating anything to a vegan diet. So like to me, I was like, oh, I feel so much better because I'm eating. And not at the time, I had no idea how much better I could feel. So I was on the vegan diet. And then I would say like probably around the time of the pandemic, I just started getting like super fatigued, like could not stay awake. So it was like by like 2, I was sleeping like 9-10 hours a night. And then by like 2 p.m., I would be like, I need to take a nap. Like, I don't know what's going on. I like cannot stay awake. I did end up getting my testosterone tested, and it was very low.
Testosterone is very important for women too.
Yep. We don't need as much. We do need it. And so at that point I was like, you know, I'm just tired of like not being able to stay awake. So I started adding eggs back in, and that seemed to kind of even things out a little bit. I could at least stay awake. And then the T levels kind of came back up. And then several years later, I started getting into pole dance, and you know, pole dance is an extreme sport.
Right.
It's very, if you don't know what you're doing, it can be very hard on your body.
Right.
So I was starting to get like more advanced in pole, and I started getting injured like every 3 months. It was like clockwork. It was like big injuries, like hamstring tear, and then it was like broke my foot, and then a few months later it was like sprained my shoulder, and then it was a shoulder impingement, and it was like every 3 months on clockwork.
And it wasn't just that you broke your foot; it was that you stepped down like 8 inches.
Right, I was like,
and her foot broke.
Right, I was like 26 years old. I fell like this much and landed with my foot pointed, and my fifth metatarsal just snapped. And I was like, okay, I'm 26, and that was a very, very small fall. Like that should not have broken that easily. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm on a vegan diet, and I know that like, and I'll say like the entire time that I was vegetarian vegan, like I've always like been very interested in how food works. Even though I didn't really have the best understanding of it as I was younger. I think, you know, with the eating disorder and everything, there was this deep desire just to understand food and how my body works.
I have so many questions. Yeah. I really do. I have so many questions because okay, so let me ask you this. Now with an eating disorder, you know, obviously you're feeling like you're not where you want to be. You know, and you do things like that, and you get caught in that rotation, you know, you're doing that same thing over and over for a multitude of years. Now, when it comes to bone density and things like that, when you're depleting those minerals from your body,
absolutely,
that would make your body that much more brittle, right? But then when you get into that type of diet, and I say diet because it's you know, you're not getting the protein that you need to build that density, correct? Am I right in that?
Correct.
Right. Yeah.
So when you're doing all that and then having you know, changing your lifestyle to an active lifestyle and doing these more physical things, I could see how that would be
Yeah.
a problem.
Right?
Absolutely.
Now, when you started to introduce eggs back into your diet and getting things like that, now did meat or any type of things, like, did it make you physically ill? Did you like?
No, I really didn't have any issue with the eggs. Yeah, and then so with all the injuries, I was like, I need to do something about this. I'm like, screw it. I feel like shit. I keep getting injured. We need to eat meat back in. Like, there's no way I can do this without eating meat. And so I started with like shrimp, and I ate a lot of shrimp, and I think I ate too much at first, and that was probably the only reason it upset my stomach.
Yeah.
But then after that, no issues. Ate lots of shrimp, lots of salmon. Never had any issues with that. Then we got steak in, had no issues. But I did do everything very slowly. Like, I kind of just started with like, steak once a week, shrimp once a week, and then
And it didn't really like crash you to make you like everything bind, or you feel like.
Not really. I would say like it is, if you aren't used to eating a certain food, it is kind of normal to have a little bit of weirdness at first.
Yeah, you're going to have an adjustment period there. Your body's going to feel different things. Yeah.
But I also think that there is this huge misconception that meat is hard to digest, and I would say my argument to that is like, okay, then why don't you see meat in your poop? Because your poop is everything that your body cannot digest, which is mostly like roughage.
He was waiting for it. I saw it in his face. He was like, you said poop, and he just looked at me like, I know you're gonna go somewhere with this. I'm being
shit
good,
joke
man.
coming in.
I'm
Shit
being
joke
good,
coming
dude.
in.
I'm
Yeah.
being good. I'm being good. Sorry to interrupt.
That's
No, it's all good. And the reason for that is because meat is almost entirely digested in your small intestine. So it's digested much easier than other types of food, like grains and vegetables and things like that need to be broken down twice.
Right.
Versus meat usually only needs to be broken down once.
Right.
So yeah, no, not a whole lot of issues with like an adjustment period going into back eating meat. I did do everything like very slowly. Kind of kept the portion sizes modest at first.
Right.
And it went very well. And then like legit within, I would say like 4 or 5 months, I was just like, whew, wholly different person.
Yeah, she put on a massive amount of muscle, and she lost a massive amount of body fat.
Well, and I lost a lot of inflammation.
Yeah,
like
tons of inflammation.
I've always been very small, and I had no idea like how much inflammation I was still holding on to, just because it was a very high, mostly a high carb diet.
Yeah.
And then even being you can do a whole food vegan diet, but those convenience foods are
rampant
vegan,
throughout that.
Well, and they're a lifesaver when you're vegan, because it's like, it's so hard. Like there's so much more steps to getting nutrients because you need to add so much more food in.
Right.
So when it's like, oh my gosh, I just don't want to have this like 5-step dinner that I need to cook tonight so that I can have a healthy meal. And it's like, okay, well, I'm just gonna do the Morningstar burger or whatever instead. And then, so even then, like even with me eating a whole food diet, like those things probably still once a week. And even just once a week, I would say that was too much.
Of the processed vegan stuff.
For sure. Yeah. Because when I stopped eating, I was like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to feel like.
Yeah. The inflammation thing is interesting because it was really crazy to see you drop and like shed all that water. I mean, people got to realize too that for every gram of carbohydrate that you eat, your body stores around 2 to 4 grams of water on top of it. So you got to think, if you're eating mostly carbohydrates, for a lot of folks, when we put their food stuff in line and we get them eating the appropriate amount of protein, like most of the first like 10 to 15 pounds folks lose is straight away excess inflammation and water weight.
Shit.
Yeah. That's almost all of what, like when your face is puffy and stuff like that, like that's all just inflammation most of the time. I mean, a lot of that's driven by alcohol. Most people consume alcohol, and that's one of the biggest drivers of inflammation.
Now, how about you guys? Is that something that you guys partake in, or is that?
We don't partake in
Not
alcohol.
really.
No.
No.
Yeah. I mean, a sip of something here and there, maybe, or whatever. Like, it wasn't that I was like had
forever
a
in
problem.
Rome, we're gonna have the wine,
Yeah,
but
yeah, exactly.
we don't really.
Right.
I can't remember the last time either one of us had a drink. So
yeah, I mean, I had a pull on a whiskey bottle on tour after a successful show at a crazy venue where the kids like lifted me up on their shoulders and shit, carried me around and stuff.
Yeah. That's a celebratory thing.
Yeah. We had
a
a really great show on tour or whatever, and passing the bottle around the bus, and I took like a pull and a half, and I hadn't had any whiskey in a long time. And I was like, oh no, that tastes like more. I better give that back, like because I always like drinking. My thing is that I was really
tastes like more.
I was really good at being drunk.
Yeah.
Like I was really good at it. Like I didn't have any problems with driving or getting all fucking weird and behaving goofy or anything like that. Really, it was everybody around me that had problems. And then like the couple of major injuries that I've had in my life, my arm break that I had like 10, 13 years ago or something like that. And then I broke my orbital. I mean, those were all because of dumb shit I did while I was drunk. And so it just kind of put the pieces together for me. About 2021, I basically stepped away from alcohol entirely.
Dude, so many people these days. I
Yeah.
mean,
It's good.
I think it's insane. And
Yeah.
I was talking to my wife just the other day about having a friend here and having a few drinks. And like 3 days, like I had 3 beers here.
Yep.
3 beers here. and I was like, I felt it. The next day I was just like, wow, I feel really off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't feel chemically there. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like I was kind of emotional almost. Like
Yeah.
I was getting my period and shit. That's just how it felt. I was just like,
Just all worn down and my nipples hurt. I don't know why.
I love that cereal.
Yeah, cereal's good. I love that varnish.
Right?
Yeah, but no, for her coming off of being vegan and switching to meat, like the change, and not just the change in her physicality, but also like her mental. I mean, look, vitamin B12 is insanely important.
Yes.
And the only place you actually get vitamin B12, the kind your body, your brain, and your spinal cord need to function, is through meat. It's methylcobalamin.
Mm-hmm.
You can supplement with vitamin, but that's going to be what's called cyanocobalamin.
Okay.
And cyanocobalamin has a molecule of cyanide, the neurotoxin, attached to it.
Woo.
And they make that cyanide by purchasing the scrapings off the top of wastewater digester plants. It's the foam that's on top of wastewater digester ponds, and they sell it to vitamin companies, and they make it into vitamin B12. And it's not that your body can't handle the process of detaching and disposing of that little tiny molecule of cyanide.
Mm-hmm.
Your body can fucking handle it. Like, it's fine. But when the other version is readily available and you don't have to put your body through that excess step, and you don't have to tax your kidneys and liver and gallbladder, all these things, why wouldn't you just do that one instead?
Well, because I don't know about it.
Right. Yeah, mostly. Well,
Because
hopefully
I
people
need to
do
talk
now.
to you.
Yeah, exactly. But
Well, and that was also like the big realization I had when I was at the end of the vegan diet is I'm like, I am going through so many extra steps to get nutrients into my body because, you can have like beans and rice or whatever as a protein source, more carbs and protein, but then your body has to go through extra steps to turn that protein into the protein you need.
Right.
And I guess soy would probably be a better example than beans and rice. Like your body needs to go through extra steps to turn that soy into the protein that you can absorb into your muscles versus you just eat meats and it's a direct source.
It's so like there's a theory like right? So you eat muscle tissue, you build muscle tissue. You eat liver, it has things beef liver has things in it specifically that are good for your liver. If you eat beef kidneys, the nutrients in there are directly going to help benefit
What about human
kidney
kidneys?
function.
Can I eat human kidney?
If you never go back though. That's the thing. You never go back.
You should have seen the look on my daughter's face when she's eating a pork chop, and I was like, "Did you know that's supposed to be like human flesh?" She just went, "What?"
Very, very similar.
How do you know that? I just hear that it's white meat and it tastes like pork chops. That's what I've heard. How do you know that? Well, me and Jeffrey, we went to school together, and just the look on her face, though, she was just like, "What?"
You're gonna scare her into veganism.
God, I hope not.
No, let's not do that.
Well, and the thing is, like, if the most important thing for not only your longevity but your survival on this planet is muscle tissue,
It is.
what should you eat?
Yeah. You should eat muscle tissue. Yeah.
And organs,
And organs. Yep. Exactly.
It doesn't work though with brain though, right? Like,
You want to be. You're not supposed to eat the brain.
Yeah.
But actually, the whole like there's like a certain kind of parasite that you got to worry about with the brain eating stuff.
Okay.
Like
I've never had any interest in brains.
Yeah,
I've
so
never
like
looked
bovine, so there are bovine like brain supplements that you can take and whatever, and that have been desiccated or whatever that you can consume that way. And it is supposedly, I think that like makes like is accurate some of the time, but there's certain elements where it's like,
you know how many
well-
black metal people are listening to this?
I know, right? Like,
Yeah, I can eat the fucking brains.
yeah, exactly.
What are you doing, dude?
Yeah.
Brains.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, Ancestral Supplements does have a brain supplement like
pretty
that.
awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of gnarly.
That's pretty
Kind of
awesome.
gnarly. Yep. No, I mean, but going back to the vegan thing, like, we get a lot of pushback on that kind of stuff because plant-based is pushed as like healthier and
Right.
whatever, and it's fucking not.
Dude,
It's
I've
not.
sat in conversations where I'm just like, oh man, I'm
Yeah.
fat, dude. I want to leave this conversation right
Yeah.
now. I'm sorry. If I'm not smoking that green stuff you're talking about, I don't want
Yeah,
to
exactly.
do
I
it.
don't want nothing to do with it. Yeah.
Sorry. I mean, that's just how I feel. I
Yep.
don't know.
Yeah. And it's not that, and it's not a thing that like vegetables are bad for you. There's like some of this whole like, well, plants have these defense chemicals and all this stuff. There's like one lane of the internet that's like super against vegetables and all this because of their defense chemicals. It's minimal at
You
most.
hear that?
Like,
Well,
thing?
the
Yeah.
cons definitely don't outweigh the pros of eating veggies.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's plenty of pros, and even if there is a little bit of defense chemical, whatever, like that hormetic effect of your body kind of having to be more resilient by digesting and breaking that stuff down is probably actually a good thing from a resiliency standpoint.
Now,
Uh,
is that a thing now? I mean, is there like an amount that they're saying that you should have as far as green or leafy vegetables?
I mean,
or
just
anything like that?
eating and just eating them at all,
Yeah.
really. Just like keeping them somewhat in the diet is beneficial.
What are
Yeah.
the higher caliber greens that you would recommend people to eat? Are you
So-
a kale person? Are you
No, so
like
so actually, leafy greens like that, like dark leafy greens, do have some. I'm more partial personally to arugula because it's lower in oxalate content. Oxalates are basically like byproducts of that that end up impacting the kidneys from things like kale and spinach and stuff. So you see a lot of these folks that eat like kale shakes or spinach shakes every day, and they put like a whole bag of kale or a whole bag of spinach, and they're doing this every day. Those folks a lot of times end up with kidney stones.
I've heard that.
Problems with their immune system, other kinds of things. So you're just going to be careful about the amount of that. So if you're going to do like greens or something like that, I would say, arugula or, kale is garnish. It's bullshit.
Right.
Like, yeah. I mean, spinach has some good value to it, but mostly, really things like broccoli, your cruciferous vegetables, that kind of stuff. Your Brussels sprouts, your asparagus, green beans,
Well, and I was gonna say all the veggies that are actually fruits.
yeah, there's those too, like tomatoes and stuff like that. Those are nightshades. Some folks have problems with that kind of
I
stuff.
won't mess with tomatoes. There's just something about them. Texture wise,
Sure.
And it's really weird because I enjoy it on some things, but other things I'm just like,
Yep. And I mean that's pretty common with most folks. There's texture issues or like, certain food sensitivities that they might have that from a texture standpoint. And we work around all that kind of stuff because again, there's almost always a swap. There's almost always a way, and that's kind of what we do is we clear the path for options. We kind of get you out of your I can't do this and I can't eat that and I can't eat that, and we show you that what you can have instead.
Right.
Of those things that you can't eat. If you don't like, red and green peppers and like bell peppers and onions are also good options. Very nutrient dense, very good for the body and the brain and everything like that.
Now let me ask you about this. Okay,
Yep.
so when you steam broccoli, does that
Yep.
lessen the vitamins that you get from
No,
it?
actually, cooking food to it, not overcooking it, obviously, but cooking food actually wakes everything up
Okay.
a bit in there and like makes things a little bit more bioavailable. But you do want to make sure that you eat your vegetables with some sort of fat source.
Okay.
Because you're eating vegetables for not just the fiber, but also for a lot of the micronutrients, including vitamins and minerals. And most of that stuff, or a lot of that stuff, is fat soluble.
Okay.
So it's not going to absorb into the body as well if you don't put some, either some extra virgin olive oil on it once you're done cooking
That was
it.
my next question.
Yep,
Like, what-
yep. You can cook it. You can. I would recommend just cooking in real butter. Just cook in real butter. Butter's got vitamins.
Salted, unsalted,
Salted's fine. Unsalted. I mean, most of the time,
grass-fed butters.
grass-fed butter.
That's what you're talking about?
Kerry Gold is the brand that we.
I see that a lot.
Recommend most folks. There is also a Costco and a Sam's Club brand, but if you look at the back of those, they say that like, we're 90% grass-fed butter or
Right.
85. So then they put other bullshit in there to fill it in. A lot of times it's olive oil. just fine. It doesn't have a very high smoke point though, and actually starts oxidizing earlier than the smoke.
What about making your own butter?
Making your own butter. I mean, you could do that. You could go all Amish.
I've seen a whole lot of people
actually
putting it in a
fairly
fucking
do it
jar.
all the time.
Yeah.
Like mixer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's super easy. You
It
just
is.
put the little whisk thing on, let it go for like 15, 20,
Yep.
and it'll separate, and then you have the butter and the buttermilk.
Right.
Mhm.
And
Yep.
You can
And you
even
could
just
use the
put-
buttermilk
yeah.
for other things too, right?
Absolutely.
You can even just
It'll
put
be,
heavy cream in a jar and shake it.
And that's
And it'll
that's
turn
what
to
I was
butter.
saying.
Yeah.
I've seen that. Seen like this redneck cat doing it. He's like, this
Yeah.
is how we used to do it when I was a kid. And he's like, all you do, and he poured it in there, and he's like, it takes a little while, and he's sitting there, and they fast forward, and then he's like, and he pours out the buttermilk, and he's like, you can use this for this, this, and this. Sets it to the side. And he's like, but this is what we're here for. He's squeezing all the juices out of it.
Yeah.
And then he's just like. Puts it on a piece of bread, and he's like, and you can just see him like it's the real deal,
The best
Yeah.
you'll ever have.
Yeah, it's the best.
So good.
Yep. Straight away.
Wow.
Like,
Yeah, if you make your own butter, that's
mixer
awesome.
It's super easy.
Yep. I mean, it's literally just shaking the cream until it becomes butter. Like it's wild. So like again, like
your own shake weight, bro.
that's right. So you have, and if you're a dude, you're good at this by now. You've got to be. You've been practicing for years. You
I
can
was
make
trying
that butter,
to be
baby.
good, man. I was trying to be
fucking-
Conditioning, you got to
Whatever. if
that works.
if folks get upset about
Right.
that, they ain't the ones to be working with me anyways, because I'm gonna make those jokes every fucking time. So you don't like how I talk? Too bad.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
So hey, I wanted to talk about that first song that we came in on.
Oh, sure, yeah.
That was the Reaping Asmodea, Shattered Leviathan, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Just released not that long ago.
Yeah.
right?
This past summer we dropped that. Yeah.
And you were doing the tour thing and all
Yeah,
of that
doing-
stuff. How did all of that go, dude?
Excuse me. All of that went crazy good. Throughout the whole year, this past year was
It looked
obviously-
awesome, bro.
Thank
It
you.
really looked awesome. It just I've seen you bounce, and I've seen you be in different projects, and like the Glutton thing, I was like, holy shit, this is gonna just blow these guys, lift them up higher. And then all of a sudden, the Reaping situation came, and I'm seeing you out on the road with them, and I'm like, I've always thought that you and those cats were like meant to rock together,
Thanks, man.
And then seeing you guys really put it together, and then the bass player comes back to
Yeah.
Reaping, and like all of that action up there, like holy shit.
Yeah, we kind of took it to a whole different level.
And
a
then
little bit.
seeing you at Slammy D, and then you're going like, dude, you gotta just see the. I'll just show you a little bit of
the
it.
video,
you know what I mean? And
yeah.
I told Dan, and Dan was like, he looked at me, and he's like, he did?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
He's
he
not
wanted
supposed to
go,
show
yeah,
that.
exactly.
And
he goes,
Dan showed us anyway.
And he goes, well,
Yeah.
I just wanted to. Well, you might as well see all of it, and then we're just going, whoa, holy shit, man.
Yeah, Adam Stanton crushed it on that video
Dude,
for
that
us.
fucking background, that whole, was it a state?
It's a giant screen.
Dude, that
It's
shit
it's
was so sick.
biggest LED screen in the state, I think. Like
Yeah.
one of the only ones like that.
So
like
wicked.
guys like companies like Best Buy and stuff pay like $5,000 a day to use that and film their commercials and stuff in front of it. And
You guys were
whatever,
just
so-
whipping hair and jumping
Yeah.
up and down.
Yeah, it takes a long time. I think everybody who's ever filmed a music video knows that that's like the worst part of being in a band.
Right.
It's worse than loading gear,
Yeah.
tour wise or whatever. Like the worst shit that happens. Like it's just the hardest day.
Dude, when you look at it though, where
Yeah.
you're like, holy shit, they
Yeah.
really knocked it out of
The first thing I said when Adam sent us the initial edit of the video or whatever, I was just like, fuck, man, you made me look way too cool. Like I'm never gonna be able to live up to that shit.
Right.
Like
right.
ever. The video starts like with me walking up and like I got an attitude on me or whatever. It's like I look like that. Like I don't know that I'm doing these things when I'm doing them half the time. I'm just
And like you said, that experience, you're like,
Yeah.
fucking, I got to do this 12 times?
Yeah,
We
dude.
nailed it the first time. I know the way
Yeah.
I walked in here, we nailed it.
20 times more like.
Just out of curiosity, was it the 30th or the 2nd?
Shit.
Actually, it was like 12.
Yeah, it was like the 12th or 13th time we finally got it right. Yeah. No, it was a wild experience, and that's a very high energy group, and it's everyone pushes one another to step their game up all the time, and we have like, oh hey, did I hit you on stage tonight? Nope, didn't hit you on stage tonight. Sweet, good deal.
I'll try harder next.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's about what it is. Like, I kicked Alex in the ass this last time. when we played at Amsterdam. He like swung his guitar over my head, and I ducked underneath it, and I lifted my foot up, and I kicked him right in the ass, and then like backwards or whatever, and then I actually hit Jacob this time on one of the days that we did, and that never happens. He usually hits me, but I hit him instead. So like we're always colliding on stage.
Dude, you just upped his fucking dude, kicking Jacob. Or hitting Jacob. I could imagine him just like, oh yeah, just
yeah.
fucking,
He's into it. Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
he's a wild man too, man. They're all, you guys are all fucking wild. I love to see it.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah,
with those cats.
It does all feel very natural, and I think all of us already knew as soon as it kind of came together that it was going to work really well,
right.
and that we were going to fire on all cylinders, especially after that. We did our first show together in Michigan at a place called Sanctuary, and I was coming off of being sick, like really sick. Daniel was coming off of being really, or actually he was in the middle of being really sick. He and I each had, his fever was like 102 going on stage. Mine was like 101 plus. And so we had to do that very first show together, all fucked up, half of us all goofed up, and we still crushed it. And we came off stage and we're just like, oh yeah, this is gonna work. Like this is gonna work just fine.
And I just sweated out my cold. I don't even.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm fine now. Just feel that? All better. Yeah. At least for a few hours until the adrenaline wears down, and then it's
10 times worse.
It's 10 times worse.
Oh no.
Yeah. Oh no.
Horrible, dude. I've been there so many times.
Yeah.
Worst feeling.
Yeah. No, but that whole, we dropped that track. We got a bunch of new stuff we're working on right now. Working on another single for hopefully by the end of February-ish. That'll hopefully come out.
Nice.
Another new single, and then everything goes well, we'll probably tour again through end of March through April, and then and at some point, next year or this year rather, hopefully drop an EP, something like that.
Nice.
We're kind of playing it by ear, seeing how things shake out, whatever opportunities come our way. But yeah, we got a lot of good things, cool things in the works, and and it's
congratulations with that.
Thank
That's
you.
badass.
It's an honor to be a part of, honestly. Like knowing those guys for so long, and I was a huge fan of the band first. So first and foremost, it felt like really good to obviously be in one of my favorite bands.
Right.
Like that's wild to me.
Right.
It's crazy that I have the chance to do that, sing these songs and
Right.
stuff. And then to have the chance to create with these guys who are my best friends, it's
and some
smooth,
of the most talented fucking
insane, and machines when it comes
guys.
machines when it comes to songwriting. They're just like,
I can imagine.
just kicking
Alex,
ideas.
I just, any time that I've ever seen Alex play, I'm just like,
Yeah, it's
I want to go
insane.
burn all the rest of the guitars in the world.
the shit that he pulls off live every night is wild. That he can just produce that every single night, and he's just on. No worries.
I wonder if
about it
other
at all.
guitar players think about smashing their hands.
Oh God,
like he did.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because that's the whole thing, right?
It elevated that guy to a whole nother level.
did.
I mean, he's admitted that
Yep.
openly several times. I remember watching him play with Six and just this dude is fucking amazing, and he always had that. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, tons of
Throwing down.
energy.
Yeah.
He knows how to fucking perform. The dude's a performer and an artist.
I thought he was always a good performer, but when he elevated,
yeah,
after he came back from his injury, and
Yep.
just a whole nother type.
I mean, the doctor told him, dude, play guitar, play more guitar. It's gonna fix your hand, and he did, and he went to work, and then he joined Body Beneath from Six,
Right.
and that was a whole different experience on that fret hand for him, learning Nick Kozicki's riffs and all
Right.
that craziness, that crazy tech death, yeah, right, and
some of Nick's riffs are just insane.
yeah,
Yeah, some of Nick's faces are insane.
Alex is he'll still break them out from time to time. He'll be like, "See, I still got this," and he's fucking hitting these hammer-ons and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, dude, that was a challenging band to be a part of too.
Absolutely insane.
But yeah, we've had a lot of fun together over the years, and it's really great to be in this environment as adults now, and we all kind of have our own things going on. But it makes it mean more when, I think Daniel mentioned it when he was on here last. It just kind of makes it mean more when you're making this art with your friends, and whether it's at this level or any other level, at the foundation of everything has to be that you're cool with the cats you make and create things with. And it's not always the case in a lot of times,
Right.
that you're just kind of you might be cool, and like I think Daniel mentioned it too on the podcast, like with a couple people in the group, but
Right.
you're not. But like this with reaping, it's like we're all super duper tight.
Right.
Like it's just a smooth operating machine, and our crew is fucking amazing too. You know, we got Kale, who's our more full-time merch guy. Dean Bruns come along with us and run sound.
Right.
And that's super awesome to have the old Station 4 guy come out with us
yeah.
and like who's known us for so long, and so he knows exactly
got a
what we're
great
looking
ear,
for. Amazing ear and fantastic guy, and like helps with everything, and like it just feels like the band has built a little bit more of like a team that we actually have like our crew that we go out with. You know, we got the bus now, and it's just a more well-oiled machine, it feels like, and it feels good to be successful at that when we go out there. You know, we're selling a shitload of merch every time we play for crowds that, you know how it goes when you're out there. Like, you might play for some of the weeknight shows and stuff like that. You might play to 25, 30 people or 40 people or something like that on a good night, like a good Wednesday or something in some random-ass town in Iowa or whatever. And when you still walk away making a solid nut on merch, you know, like $600-800, you like kind of like, how does this, the fucking math ain't mathin', you know, like, but that's how much everybody that came to that show supports what you do. Is they spent their hard-earned money at your fucking merch table.
It's not like Reaping hasn't been out there, you know, fucking, you know, busting ass to do that.
15 years
anyway.
DIY, man.
I honestly feel like, though, this lineup is a bit different than the ones that I've seen in past. You know? I feel like this is a whole nother level for you guys as far as like not only just the camaraderie and everything going on and creatively putting it together and being friends for a long time, but that synergy, dude, is something else. Like, you can feel it. I can feel it and I can see it, you know. And I think I don't know if I've seen you get with these guys yet.
No, I don't think you've seen us live yet with this whole new.
But I know all. You know what I mean? The collective, the people involved. I feel like it's a whole nother thing.
Yeah,
you know
I do too. I think all of us agree with that. Is that it's, you know, she saw the video for the first time or whatever, heard the first single, and she was like, oh yeah, this is gonna be a different thing now. Like, you guys are gonna push a little differently, aren't you? And I was like, yeah, it's gonna be a different thing. And you know, that's not to like be too self-ingratiating or like pat ourselves on the back too fucking much or anything like that. It's we make wacky music and you know, we don't take ourselves too incredibly seriously. But you know, we got goals. We got shit we want to try to accomplish. We want to try to get over to Europe and want to try to get to.
I think you guys would do great over.
Oh yeah, we would do great. The crowds get better and better all the time. You know, we did these 3 shows with Born of Osiris and that went over really well. You know, great crowds, great engagement every night, and lots of folks stopping by the table and having good conversations with us.
They've been pushing real hard.
Oh yeah,
the last what, 5 years, 6 years, something like that. Or?
Boo's been around for almost as long as Reaping has, if not longer. Yeah, I mean they've been out since, I want to say, like 07 or something like that. Yeah, they've been around for quite a while.
I remember seeing the name and here, you know, they're always touring. They're moving around quite a bit. I just feel like they've moved to another.
Yeah, they have. They're way more in that headliner position. Like in that they're carrying their own. They've been carrying their own tours for quite some time, and they can pack clubs and stuff like that.
That's badass to be part of that, man.
Yeah, and I mean, these were all small.
Tap into their.
Yeah, these were all small club shows and stuff like that. But they were, you know, like the Indianapolis one was sold out, like wall to wall people, and it was, you know, it was capped out at like I think 250 or 275, but you're still looking at a packed room, and it's a fun room to play when it's packed up like that, and people are just kind of chomping at the bit to get to the headliner. So there's this energy and this like around, and if you're the right kind of front man, you can tap into that, and you can kind of get those people who are on the edge of like, I want to go. You can get them fucking popping off, and you can feed them. You know, because
a good front man can do that.
They're just begging to be told what to do, basically at that point, and because they're checked out on their regular lives on like all the other. If you're at a show like that, that's what you're looking for, right? You're looking to check out on all your other authority figures and things like that that are driving your decisions and stuff like that. You just want to kind of be hedonistic and just, you know, live in the moment for
Flip the
a while.
switch.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's right. Yep.
Well, we've got another tune. We should take a listen to that. We've got Glutton for Punishment. See here, from ruins to from flesh to ruin. It is the
title track.
The title track, right?
Yeah, the EP. Yep.
Awesome.
Good stuff.
Well, let's take a listen to that, and then we'll be back. Take a listen, folks.
Battle between
Gotta love that brutality. How was that making that album there and putting the whole thing together? That was a process, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You kind of got thrown into that whole situation. Right?
I did, yeah. I got thrown into that whole situation. Yeah, I got asked to do a fill-in gig in 2023, and then it went well enough where that night, they just kind of asked me if I would do it full time, and I wasn't really doing much else. In all honesty, the reaping thing was like supposed to happen a year earlier, but it just wasn't the right time to do it.
Yeah.
And so I really wasn't doing anything. I didn't know if that would come back around or not.
Right.
So I jumped in, and making music with those guys is fantastic. It's a really organic process with those dudes. We sat in a room and wrote those songs together for the most part, and that's what they're doing on the new record they're working on too. Is they're just Ogar and Rob are coming up here and just riffing away. So see where that goes. It'll be good.
Yeah, I mean, so when it comes to writing lyrics for that stuff, I mean, are you in the middle of the room with those guys, or are you kind of coming in on the back process of that stuff? I know you've done all kinds of different ways of creating.
Yeah. With that, for that EP, I kind of did stuff on my own.
Yeah.
There, I mean, I was around for the writing of the songs, and had some input here and there, on structure and stuff like that. But I don't know. I just trust those guys to do their jobs really well, and they do it. And they consider, especially in this newer stuff. Ogar was really considering the vocals, and like making space for them. And I believe that's the same way going into the full length that they're working on. They're really considering that. And I know he has a lot of ideas for like narratives lyrically and story wise that he wants.
He is meaning
Ogar
or
Ogar.
Okay.
Yeah. So and then this time I think Jesse's going to get in on a lot of that too. And kind of it'll be a lot more collaborative in that aspect. So, but it's fun to write with those guys. And
weird, you have another vocalist in your band.
Yeah, it is kind of weird. It is, and I do things kind of unique, my own way. I kind of come in and out on weird spots a little bit, but my goal is always to make the song, like, there's already enough chaos happening and like crazy riffing and everything like that. So I try to make the vocals something that you can latch onto and like hold on to and like drag you through this like brutality, right?
Sure.
Like I lead you through the whole battle,
kicking and
journey.
screaming.
Exactly. Yeah, sometimes. but and then providing enough dynamic with range and like expressing myself that way and
I love it because I was like I was giving Rob a hard time. I was like, "Oh, Jesse's in the band now. Are you gonna go?" And he's like, "I've never been like that. That Glutton's never been like." He was like upset about it. Know?
Well, at first they also thought that I did too many vocals on the stuff. Like the first song we did was Demoniacal, and he was like. He's like, oh, I was so fucking panicking. I was like, there's just vocals over everything, and just all this. I just didn't know what to do. And then it turns out like, you did it just right. Like once he actually heard it, and like he was like, oh, it is spaced out. It just it's put in weird places. My placement on patterns.
Different than the last guy.
Yeah. Alan was very much on the downbeat, like straight through, like and great. There was a little bit of drama there at first when all of that exchange happened when he left and I came in, and
Well, obviously there's going to
folks. Yeah, I mean, you put enough effort into something and you get asked to leave. It sucks. Like there's no way around it. It fucking sucks. But it does also provide the opportunity to get better or to do things differently, right? Like, oh shit, maybe. Luckily, he had another project that he was really focused on, Apothic, which is fantastic, and everybody should go listen to Apothic. All those guys are awesome, and then we share a band member, obviously, and Natanic, who's in doing his thing right now. Shout out, much love to Natanic. But I saw Al for the first time at Slammy D this past year, and like I told him, I was like, well, dude, I was a fan of what you. I wouldn't have wanted to do this if I wouldn't have like ultimately really, really respected what you did, and like wanted to. If I didn't think I could do more with it, or like add my own, spin on it or whatever. But like,
you're definitely not doing what he was doing.
No.
And that speaks from your own skill level. You know what I mean? Your own style, your own thing. That's what you want. Out of a situation,
If I just went in and did exactly what Al did, then Al might as well just stayed.
Right.
There wouldn't have been anything different about the approach, and it wouldn't have made sense for him to leave. But
I know there was some sore feelings in that whole deal. And I'll be honest with you, watching Rob watch Al play.
Yeah.
And, they obviously weren't really talking all that much. There was still, like I said, bad blood. There was some sore feelings there.
Yep.
After the fact, and sitting with Rob, and he's like, fuck, man, he is a great vocalist. And I'm like, dude, he's always been a great vocalist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
100%.
But walking with Al and talking to Al and saying, hey, man, I stood next to Rob the whole time you guys were playing. He watched the whole set. And he's like, really?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, dude. And I was like, dude, he was like, you're a fucking badass vocalist.
Yeah.
He looked at me. He was like, he said that. I was like, yeah, dude. What do you think? He didn't like you the whole time?
Yeah, dude, he wouldn't have kept you in there for so long.
But you could see it in his face. He was just like it reinforced what he was doing, and it seemed like it opened up an avenue for those guys to even have a conversation.
Yeah,
it was
that's
really
good.
cool.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, and Al is a hell of a vocalist.
Yeah.
Like, he's done so many cool things.
Right.
And honestly, like, I looked up to Al's a little older than me, and so I looked up to Al coming up quite a bit.
Right.
His Six was a bigger band in the area, and they could draw a crowd and everything. Yeah. I mean, I've looked
He's
at
a
that
hell
guy
of a
for
performer.
yeah, exactly. So like, no disrespect or issues there at all.
I'm glad that it was never a major thing.
Yeah, never a major thing for me. I wouldn't have done it if I wouldn't have thought the world of Al already. I just want good things for Allentown. That's all there is to it.
Oh yeah,
I think
all of us do.
same.
I think that's something that we all kind of bond with on that. We do appreciate what people are going through and want to see people thrive and do well.
Yeah,
I think that's. I've always said this podcast is kind of a way for me to give back to all the cool people that I've known and the people who are like maybe even struggling that haven't had a chance to sit down and tell their story about what's going on.
Absolutely.
Like all the cool shit that people have given me, I've always wanted to just give back and like see other people flourish and do well.
Yeah, and I mean that's a big driving factor behind what we do too.
Mm-hmm.
Is that we've had a lot of help over the years, man. Like we wouldn't have been able to. There's some times in the recent past that we went through that would have damn near broke us and broke us apart and ripped us up, but we had family and friends and good community to lean into and to help us make heads or tails of things. And a big part of this business and my starting this whole thing and wanting to get into coaching was literally to give back to this community that's given me so much, and whatever. And same thing goes with her and her community, that the pole community that she's a part of, and that whole artistry and that community too. Like that's her mission, that's given her so much, and right, like that's
absolutely. And also, like, we both know what it's like to be really lost and really frustrated with your health and not know what you're doing wrong.
Yep.
And having someone that's just like makes it so much clearer for you is everything. Like,
Yep. Someone to guide you along the path, right?
Well, I mean, and kind of on those lines, I kind of wanted to touch on this one because I don't normally do this with a lot of people when they come on the show. I really like to free flow it, but I know that you guys had a lot of things to talk about, and I have a lot of great ideas and new approaches and things that people in our scene and in our community that may have not ever even thought of some of the things you guys think of.
Right,
and
right.
You've
Absolutely.
researched and made lists and done all these things, but you sent me some ideas and questions and things that would help us keep going in this direction and make sure it was a productive conversation. But there's one that really stuck out for me, and it says, "Can you share a success story from one of your clients that highlights the transformative impact of Lock and Key Fitness?"
Yeah, you want to take that one first? You got a client in mind that you could talk about? Your sister?
I mean, the first one that comes to mind is Caitlin, just because her story was just so it transcended many levels, and it was just so blatantly obvious to even people that didn't even know her. Back things up. Caitlin's my sister. She was one of the first people that I worked with when I first joined forces with Eric, and she struggled with her weight for many years. She was a single mom for a long time, has 2 young kids, and it's kind of like has to do a lot of things alone a lot, and really struggling with her weight and never really had clarity as to how to go about that. So I took her on, and she was one of those people within the first month she looked like she had dropped like 15 pounds just because inflammation was like gone. And then and other than that, like strength and all those things are important as well. But the biggest thing was that she just like had this huge personality change where she really did not believe in herself at all before. Like in her own words, she was saying like, I've never felt like I was a person who deserved special things.
Right.
And now she believes in herself. She's like looking into other resources to like better her situation with just being a single mom and not getting like the best start in adulthood and things like that. She suddenly has this new lease on life where she's in much better health, and now she is trying to want to use that to help other people and then possibly do something else to better herself, which I don't think would have happened if she hadn't like she was one of those people that was she was overweight, but she was drastically under eating, like 800 calories a day. So, and she, like me, like women, we're always told like, oh, you need to eat less, eat less, eat less. That's the answer. And it's like, no, once we start fueling our bodies, like we become unstoppable. So yeah, I would say Caitlin definitely is the first one that comes to mind. Was just the most transcending testimonial, where it wasn't just the physical aspect of it. It was like a whole like mental and spiritual as well.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw that too. Like,
yeah, for sure. The thing with Caitlin, so you don't get better at this job by like reading books and having like stacking up certifications. You have to put these things into action and learn how to apply them to the individual, right? And so a lot of times
we're not all the same.
Right, exactly. We're not all the same. We're all relatively made up of the same things and processes, but everybody is different. Every body is different, structurally, chemically, there's different things, different needs, and a lot of that's environment, lifestyle, et cetera. But like one of the main, the foundation of everything, again, like kind of remains the same, right? But one of the things with her taking her sister on is one of the best ways you can get better at anything, obviously, is doing it, right? So a lot of times we'll take on, like, especially when we're trying something new or there's a new coach involved, we like to take on case study clients. Like if I develop a new program, if I have a new program and I want to test it out on somebody, I find somebody who needs the help and who maybe can't afford it. And I'm like, okay, you can be my guinea pig as long as you help me market, right? And you report the results. And then you help me document, that this process is good. You help me become a scientist with this plan and program. And so that was kind of the situation with Caitlin, is that she became a case study client because Allison didn't have the testimonials to like put out there in public and like get active clients. And so once you can show social proof that you can generate results for people, and that was the purpose of her getting her sister involved, is because she needed the help and really was not in a position to purchase the services by any means. And so that was how we could give back a little bit, is put her through this process. And it was good for her and it was good for Caitlin. And through that process, Allison learned how to apply nutrition appropriately and to see and get personally, like when you're a coach and you get to feel the gratitude from someone else who you've helped. There's nothing more gratifying than seeing the look on someone's face that like, you changed my life. Like you changed how I think about life.
Right. And I was just going to say, a lot of that is also helping them to think about things a little bit differently, and just kind of fixing some limiting beliefs around different things.
Correct.
Because like with Caitlin too, and working closely with her we worked closely together for maybe like 6 months or something like that. And things, you talk and things come out, and there was things like, oh, I don't believe I deserve special things was one limiting belief that we kind of had to work through together. And another one was like, if I want money, that makes me greedy. It doesn't really have to do with weight loss, but kind of does in mindset at the same time. So
from a philosophical standpoint,
absolutely,
right?
Yeah. So it's kind of like those things that start to unravel, where it's like, okay, well, where does this thinking come from? And then, okay, how can we kind of look at this a little bit differently? Because there are different ways to look at things. It's not all black and white. So a lot of that is just reshaping mindset and things like that too.
Which becomes a lot more accessible when you start feeling better and you start noticing the differences in your health. You can start seeing the investment, right, in your energy towards yourself. You're putting good in and getting good out in return, and the evidence is apparent. Many times the things that are bothering us are the things that are holding us back or are already within, and they're not self-evident. So it takes doing some good things for yourself to help you understand that, oh shit, I've got my stuff backwards. I've been digging on myself and hurting myself and harming myself, just even with my thoughts. And the way I think about myself is harmful to my health. And now that I'm eating this better food and I'm literally,
the fog is kind of clearing.
Eating
the
better
brain fog,
food, surrounding yourself with better people, hopefully.
Hopefully. If you work with a good coach or a good trainer, it shouldn't just be your body that changes. Your approach towards your finances will probably change. Your approach towards your pursuit of the things that you want to accomplish in your life will probably change. And or get better ingrained. You'll understand better your direction. you'll be able to better sleep and recover and have less brain fog and less energy dips throughout the day, so you're more consistent.
Right.
And consistency drives everything.
Yeah.
All of this stuff there's been terrible struggles throughout this whole process
sure.
that nobody
Sure.
fucking knows about because we
Right.
don't talk about our bullshit.
Right.
But the thing is that none of it would have been possible if we wouldn't have just kept showing up every day. And
Give us one nugget. Give us one nugget. What is one? What's one?
we signed up to work with a business coaching. So we were really broke, really
Super
really
duper broke.
like scary. Scary broke.
Yeah.
And we were like, okay, we got to figure out a way how to get more. We were struggling getting leads, right? Like
Right.
which is crazy because we have the social media tapped in and everything like that, but just nobody was biting. Well, our offer sucked. We didn't really realize that at the time, but we realize that now. You learn whatever. But so we signed up to work with this company called the Next Level Coaching Academy.
Well,
That
and it
magic
looks
pill,
good
right?
when you don't feel like you know what you're doing.
Yeah, I want that magic pill, and so we signed up for this thing, and it was outside our means and everything, but we were kind of like last ditch effort sort of thing, and it even got to the point where things were so high stress and high function that I was like, and this was 2023. I flat out said, if things aren't better by the summer of 2024, I was ready to throw in the towel. I was ready to be like, oh.
Well, it was at a point where we probably wouldn't have had a choice.
Yeah, we wouldn't have had a choice, basically. We would have had to go back to getting regular jobs and all this kind of stuff. So everything was on the fucking line, you know? And we'd sign up for this thing, and as soon as we get like 3 months in on this deal, and we're making the payments, and it's tough, but we're getting it done, but we're at the same time, we're trying to do all this homework and all of this, like, this, you know.
Well, so we were already running a business and trying to build with this coaching service
at the same time,
and work our other jobs.
Yep.
And so it was really tough. It was tough to keep up.
Yep. And so we ended up we had a car breakdown
in December.
Both cars broke down in December of 2022, I believe this was.
Perfect time.
Yeah, exactly.
Or it might have been 2023.
It might have been 2023, yeah. But regardless, at the same time we're trying to make these insane payments to this business coaching thing to save our business. Both our fucking cars break down.
Right.
We don't have any money in savings. There's nothing there to so we have to not pay the business coaching people to fix our cars so we can get back and forth to see our clients to keep our business going.
Right.
It's like this nasty snake eating its own tail situation that we got into. Well, we kept in communication with the coaching company and told them what the situation was. Hey, we had to choose this month between, fixing our cars and paying you.
Right.
We'll have the money here in just a couple of days.
Right.
Bear with us.
Yeah.
Kept in contact with them. They sent us to collections so fast.
Right. That was the thing that got me was like I will say, like, I did learn some good things from them, but that was the one thing where I was like, dude, credit card companies don't even do that. What?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking inside of 30 days, like barely a couple weeks
that's
late.
Probably one of those situations where they're like, hey, man, we're struggling too.
Right?
But
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
That
have no
seems
idea.
pretty crazy to just, especially if you're communicating with them, you're saying, hey,
Yeah.
Right, that was the thing though, is like we were in communication, like they knew what our situation was, and
That's
it
a
was
tough
like,
situation,
wow. Well,
man.
and us as coaches, like if we had a client come to us and said like, I have this emergency thing going on, I'm not gonna hold them to their contract, like
Yeah, exactly.
because I would like to think I'm a good person.
Right.
Right.
Well, you gotta realize that
Yeah.
shit happens.
Oh, yeah.
Shit happens.
No one's immune to it.
No.
And this, you guys haven't been there before yourself. You can understand.
Yeah.
That shit just happens.
Oh, yeah. It totally
Breaks
does.
down.
Yep.
Fucking furnace goes out. Or,
Dog bites you. You got to spend 5 days in the fucking hospital.
it's like,
I mean, shit goes wild.
Sometimes like the money I have has to go toward this thing, which is directly due to survival.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
And unfortunately, there's a lot of companies and organizations out there that just were like,
Soulless.
don't
Yeah, pretty much.
don't care. We're going to send you to collections and further ruin you financially.
Right. Yeah.
So then that was another $5,800 in
Good old-
collections that
Good
went
old
in.
Yeah.
capitalism.
Yeah, and I mean that's just like tip of the iceberg kind of thing. You know, I mean when I first started this business, like I was so wrought with anxiety and bad. Like I was working at a screen printing shop, Inertia Apparel at the time when I was first starting this thing, and I was working at GNC like 25 hours a week. So I was putting in 50 hours between those things, plus another like 40 hours a week coaching and building my business. I was working almost 100 hours a week and barely scraping by to pay the bills and stuff for months and months on end, years on end.
Yeah.
You know, and so when people now when people come at me with like, it's like I don't have time to work out. I'm like, go fuck yourself, man. You have plenty of time.
Perfect
dude.
segue. And this
Yep.
is one thing that I wanted to bring up. And before we get any further into this, this
Yep.
is one of the main things I wanted to bring up. Explain to people how it is to invest into your health instead of worry about the giant price tag. If there is a giant price tag, or you know when you're like, hey, our offers kind of sucked at the time.
Mhm.
You learn from it. You move on. You give better offers. You have
Right.
better, things that they can do. Right.
Right.
You have better programs for them.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, explain to people how it's you could spend this much going to the doctor every time you get sick because of this, and this.
Yeah.
Or you could say, hey, I'm going to invest in myself
Yep.
and put this money towards something that's going to better me in the long run and save me all these trips. Save
Mhm.
me, like we were talking about the fast options,
Right.
opposed to your meal planning and that type of stuff like that.
Right.
Now, like,
Yeah. So obviously it's gonna be anytime you're gonna get one-on-one attention from a professional and a subject matter expert, it's gonna be an investment. And it truly is that because it's education. You wouldn't scoff at your if you're a person who needs help like this and let's compare it to like you got a kid that wants to go to college or to join jujitsu or whatever it is that they want to invest in. You would never scoff at your child wanting to invest in themselves to make themselves better, right? Like you would never be like, bullshit, that's not gonna, you would, you probably wouldn't be like that.
Right.
So why? Would you be like that about yourself?
Mhm.
And a lot of things, oh, well, I can't. There's no way I can afford that. I bet you can. How many streaming services do you subscribe to? How much
That's
do you
a real
spend?
thing.
How much do you spend on money on like bad food?
Yeah.
How much?
Apps. Yeah.
How much do you
Booze?
spend on apps? How much do you spend on booze? How much do you spend? I mean,
Spend that money on a trainer.
yeah. The deal I just offered for New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, it was it was those 2 days only, and it was a year's worth of online training for $2,700. That breaks down. That sounds like a big chunk right up front, right? You're like, oh fuck, that's a used car, whatever. But it's only $225 a month.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at your expenses and you do the math and you do some arranging, and then you think about how much time, energy, and money, if you've got any form of chronic disease or disability, how much of that. Think about your hourly rate that you make at work. Even if you make, let's say, $16 an hour on the low side of things, every hour that you spend in pain and in suffering and in
or you can't
going
make it to work
back and
because
forth
you're-
to the doctor, exactly, or you can't make it to work, you got to call in sick. Every time you do it, you are literally pissing money away.
I was gonna say, like, I did the math, and I think I lost like $200-300 last week being in the hospital. So
Yeah.
that's not including like what I owe. That's just from work missed.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're doing that even every few months, once a year even, it's like you literally can't afford not to get help.
Prescription drug prices, you know, I mean, if you don't have health insurance, this kind of thing. Yeah, everything's up.
Shit, even
And
with insurance.
yeah. I mean, health insurance is garbage too, you know. I mean, you you just got to kind of decide. In my opinion, it comes down to this. Like everybody, no one is a stranger to the clusterfuck that Western medicine is right now.
Absolutely.
That the systems that we have here are problematic, compromised, and they fucking serve no one.
Right.
They serve no one's getting healthier in this going through that system. Even if you're jumping on Ozempic, Wegovy, these GLP-1 inhibitors, all this kind of stuff, these peptides that are being used for weight loss.
Dangerous
Like,
shit.
Well, they can be because most doctors are prescribing them willy-nilly, and they're not giving the proper instructions that with these things, if you don't want to lose lean body mass and have all these crazy side effects, you have to eat a shitload of protein and exercise.
Right.
And most doctors that are prescribing GLP-1, medications and stuff like this, or these other companies and stuff, they're just giving it to you. They're just going, yeah, take this. This is every day for the rest of your life. You're going to inject this into your arm or whatever, and then your face is gonna sag and your stomach's gonna get paralyzed and you're gonna barf a whole bunch and you're gonna have nausea.
Feel sick all the time.
You're gonna lose.
Sounds fun.
You're gonna lose bone density. You know.
And then the other half of that is it doesn't always work.
Yeah, it doesn't always work either. You gotta titrate up on the dose.
I just talked to someone the other day. They're like, "Yeah, I'm starting Wegovy for the second time." Like, why do you need to do it a second time? Like,
yeah. And these are tools in a toolbox. Like they can be helpful. One of the coolest things about the GLP-1 inhibitors is that there's potential there to help rewire the brain in addiction situations. It actually does work to rewire habits. It's not a wholly bad thing. It's just being applied by assholes who have terrible fucking incentives to make profits over take care of people. And that's that's one of the biggest problems is that, again, we have flawed incentive structures. So you can do one of two things. You can take the Ozempic, Wegovy way or take the Western medicine way, and they're going to tell you to cut calories. I had a client who I was working with who has endocrine issues and like PCOS and all this kind of stuff, which is a issue that women have with their periods and stuff. Lots of inflammation, lots of painful periods, really bad, terrible shit. And causes a lot of weight gain and inflammation and stuff like that. And their endocrinologist was telling them to do high intensity interval training, which has a
high stress exercise.
And you're already in an endocrine compromised situation, so hormonally your issues are being driven by that almost exclusively. And high intensity, high stress is going to only further increase your body's cortisol levels, stress hormone, and eating less than 800 calories a day. That was the fucking nutritional advice.
Doesn't that shock your system to the point where it
Absolutely.
would, like,
It shuts you down.
it would like double your fat? Like, your cortisol
just stay,
levels would shoot way high?
Yeah, you're just going to hold on to everything.
It's harder.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just going to further drive insulin resistance, further drive resistance to weight loss, your energy systems, your prescription. Yeah, exactly. And she's on like 5 prescriptions. It's like, yo, get a new doctor, man. Like, that's not a person that's got your best interest in mind. They've got you sucked into their system, and they are just writing scripts for you.
So insane.
No actual plan to get you healthy or get you. And this went on for years. So you have choices, right? You can go down that path, and you can continue to be frustrated, and you can continue to like worry about your meds and all this kind of stuff, and oh well, I'm out of this prescription, and they're out of it at the place that I usually get it at, and so now I gotta wait, and then my body's gonna get unused to taking this medicine, and then it's gonna get reused to taking this medication,
shocking it all over the place.
And this is precisely what happens in the mental health space for sure. Is like these SSRIs. I can't tell you. I mean, dude, when I had my fucking full-blown like mental breakdown in 2019, they put me on Prozac after I got out of the fucking mental hospital, and they made me quit smoking weed. I felt way more suicidal and way more terrible every day, my energy levels, everything, on that fucking Prozac than I ever did on weed. And it was absolutely awful. And I took myself off it and told those people to fuck off, and I never went back to it again. I just stuck with cannabis and just fine. Weird. you know. But and I'm not telling everybody to like go off their mental health meds or whatever.
And
but
if you're really into that type of thing and you want to research it, by all means do that.
Yeah,
because not everybody can just do that.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
No,
there
they
are
can't.
people out there that can't just.
Oh,
go to
weed's
weed.
not good for everybody. Yeah, weed's not good for everybody, especially like if you already have mental health issues.
Yeah.
There's a high rate of psychosis potential there if you have family problems with schizophrenia or anything like that. So really be careful and don't just like buy from any Joe Blow off the street either. You know, like you never know what you're going to get. You know, trusted sources, so on and so forth, and you know, with caution, and be honest with yourself about what your issues are before you jump into anything like that.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, you've got you've got options for how you want to treat yourself, and you can invest in yourself on the front end. It's like a car, right? Preventative maintenance is the best kind because that's going to make that machine run
tire changes
optimally for as long as possible, right? And we all know that when the fucking machine breaks down, how frustrating it is. You got to wait for a fucking appointment. You got to find a different way around when that shit's in the mechanic shop, and then they come back and they tell you the cost of everything, and then your insurance doesn't cover repairs, right? So, and that's the same thing in the health space, really, is that your insurance doesn't cover repairs. So then you're left with this big fucking bill on the backside, and you're like, how do I cover this? The healthcare, I'm still sick, all this kind of stuff. Yeah, you can do all that. You can dance around
me
with
to
that.
collections. Oh,
Yeah, or you can make a choice.
Right.
You can say, I need to do things differently, and there's nothing wrong with the fact that I need to do things differently. It's just that I do. I know how I got here. I know that I'm sick and I don't feel good, you know, and I know there's certain things that would be required of me behaviorally if I want to make this change and move through this. So you kind of have to have some acceptance and some moments of hard honesty with yourself about which direction you want to go. But those really are your two choices. You can keep getting sicker and keep doing what you've done, and I'm telling you, the more weight you gain, it's harder on your joints, it's harder on your organs. Visceral fat particularly is the fat that forms around your organs, literally strangles your organs and prevents fresh blood and oxygenated blood. I come and get all these people coming into GNC asking for nitric oxide boosters. Well, the reason why is because there's so much visceral fat around their organs that the organs aren't getting the right kind of blood flow that they need to operate properly, and then that's creating kind of a high blood pressure situation in there, and the nitric oxide brings, again, the inflammation down, gets fresh blood into the areas and stuff like that, opens the vascular system up, but you got to get rid of that visceral fat. Right. And if you take care of that, your health is going to improve, and you're going to have more money, more time. You know, I think the study like that just came out was showing that not having time to exercise is actually just completely irrational and illogical.
Because every hour that you exercise, you get roughly 3.5 hours back.
Right around 3.5 hours back in your life, like for every hour you exercise. And fact of the matter is that we all have 168 hours in a week. Right. Mm-hmm. And so if you do the math on that, you do a lot of times what we do for clients is a time audit, because they're especially like, oh, I don't have time. Well, you do. I promise you do. We do a 168-hour time audit. That's the amount of time everybody has in a week. And we show them, okay, how many hours do you work? Okay, I work 50 hours a week. Cool. How many hours do you have to parent your kids? Okay, you kind of do an approximation around that. How many hours do you need for sleep?
Here you go.
You just start whittling away all that, and then all of a sudden you find out you still at the end of the week, even if you have three jobs and 2 kids and a couple of hobbies, you still have time. Like an hour a day.
Because you really only need like 3 to 4 hours. So there's
4 hours a week is all you need. Really. Yeah. So 4 hours a week, and then you can take some short walks after you eat.
I will say also, when we do those time audits, we factor in downtime. Because you need
relaxation time, like recovery time and stuff like that, because it's really super important too, right? And so once we show folks that, it's pretty hard to argue with. Right. That especially the I don't have time folks. Yeah. Like, it might not be convenient for you, but you have fucking time.
But you gotta make those sacrifices.
Yep,
right?
you do.
And it is a sacrifice. Every decision comes with a trade-off. Like, you don't have to meal prep, but the trade-off of that is, well, you might not be as consistent, and you might be frustrated during the week because you don't have anything to eat. Right.
Or you're forced to make bad choices.
Or, I don't want to eat the same foods every day. And it's like, well, the trade-off of that is, you might not be eating as well and not as consistently, things like that, Yeah,
might not see the results you're looking for.
Exactly.
Because the body does like what we see in practice. So that's the way I have to kind of frame that up, because otherwise it sounds like I'm talking in absolutes, right? So what we see in practice is that people's bodies tend to do better when they eat the same foods, just about the same foods every day. Same meals around the same times,
Right.
each day in and day out for months on end. And if you can get past the unsexiness of it all,
I mean, it's boring.
the
It's very
fucking
boring.
boredom and simplicity of it all,
Right.
if you can get your head around that, you're fucking golden, man. If you
Right.
can just understand that food is fuel and sometimes entertainment instead of the other way around,
Right.
food is entertainment and sometimes fuel,
Right.
as we kind of most of us approach it as, or have tend to approach it as, you can do wonders for your health if you can just get past that little, like, step out of your own way and realize that you're eating for dopamine.
Yeah.
You're not eating for fuel. And so what we focus on is fueling for the gym and recovering for the gym.
Right.
And that's the headspace I try to get every client into, is that you're no longer eating for entertainment. Sometimes you will eat for entertainment,
Right.
and that's a healthy relationship with food.
Right.
But what your primary focus is fueling a workout and recovering from it. Fueling a workout and recovering from it.
Now,
day in and day out.
something I wanted to ask you about too is like when it comes to supplements and
Mm-hmm.
using extra things to help you in recovery.
Right.
What are some of the things that you guys like to suggest to people, or how is it working at GNC and having that ability to look at all these products that come in?
Sure.
What are some of the best things that you offer or
Right.
have people?
Well, I always say
that could
keep
be?
it simple and make sure the nutrition is on point first.
Right.
And then
Fill in
you
the
know,
gaps with supplements.
Yeah.
Okay.
Beyond that,
So-
and so really, whey protein powder,
Creatine.
creatine monohydrate, a good omega supplement is good. Omega 3s is good to supplement with, but you got to be careful with that because a lot of fish oil products, in particular, which is where a primary source of supplemental omega 3 comes from, is fish oil, and a lot of that is rancid in the bottle already. Remember we talked about kind of earlier about oxidized oils.
Yeah.
Same thing, that in transport, the temperature changes end up oxidizing a lot of those oils inside the capsules, the fish oils, especially the stuff that's like sold in pharmacies and grocery stores and Costco and these kinds of things. Those fish oils are already spoiled inside of that container, and you're paying $35-$40 for a container of fish oil thinking that you're going to get the benefits of antioxidant omega-3, but really you're taking oxidized oils and just increasing your inflammation. So my recommendation for fish oil is either the brand Life Extension is really great, or just getting like liquid flavored cod liver oil that comes in a glass bottle, because the glass is not going to have as much susceptibility to temperature change, et cetera. It's going to keep it colder. And then keeping it in your fridge, and then just taking like a tablespoon or two throughout the day.
Sounds delicious.
Yeah, it's lemon flavored. I mean, it's a little shitty, but it's fine, And if you keep it in the fridge, you're not going to get fish burps or anything like that from it. But yeah, so protein powder of some kind, preferably not a plant-based protein powder, just because it's not as bioavailable.
Okay.
You're not going to absorb as much as you will with a whey protein powder.
Right.
If you have an aversion, a lactose issue, I would say, to fix the lactose issue, probably start drinking like A2 milk and expose yourself to a little bit more dairy that isn't so lactose heavy, like yogurts and things like that. And then you can have a little bit better tolerance of dairy. Most lactose intolerance just comes from the fact that we've hyper pasteurized everything and we've gotten rid of a lot of those enzymes. Again, milk is something that's supposed to be taken in with all of the proteins, sugars, and fats together. It's symbiotically, right? And then works in the body a certain way. But if you take out a bunch of those enzymes that are helpful in breaking that milk down and digesting it, you're going, like we do with pasteurization, you're going to cause more problems for people, and they're not going to be able to break it down and digest it because they're missing the lactase, in particular. But so some kind of quality dairy would be good to keep in the mix too. But if you have to go with like an animal-based protein powder, there's those out there too. There's like beef isolate powders or collagen powders, which not as good as whey, honestly, just not. Whey protein is tolerated well by most folks. If you do have to do a plant-based powder, you're going to want to use a combination of rice and pea protein.
Or peas,
yeah, lentils or peas, because that's going to get you the closest approximation to the amino acid profile of a whey or animal-based protein. And then, creatine, super, super helpful. If you tolerate it well, things like caffeine can be helpful. Pre-workout powders, stuff like that can be helpful for some
They're
folks,
optional,
but
yeah.
very, very optional. Like you don't need to do that, and that's mostly just getting you jacked on caffeine, and so you're feeling high.
But if you're the kind of person who's like, oh, I have a hard time getting motivated for the gym, get a pre-workout. Like,
yeah, mostly. I mean, the caffeine is a good, obviously, adrenaline hit, but then an epinephrine hit. But like, a lot of pre-workouts have L-tyrosine in them, and L-tyrosine is an amino acid that kind of helps with that get up and go, that drive towards the difficult thing, and makes you more inclined to stay in it once you're in it. So that can be one of the things that's helpful about a pre-workout powder is if you struggle with motivation, getting your ass up and getting to the gym. And then also it kind of creates a ritual for you too,
right?
And that I think a lot more people are.
How was the crash on some of those though?
Some of them are awful, especially the really super high stim ones that don't have anything. There's this ingredient called dicaffeine malate, which is added to certain pre-workouts to help avoid that skyrocket jump and that terrible crash.
Right.
So if you have struggled with that in the past, you could look for a pre-workout with dicaffeine malate in it.
A lot of great non-stimulant pre-workouts too.
Yeah.
I actually usually, for a long time I was doing that. Now I get up at 5 and I do stimulated, but
yeah. She switched to caffeinated.
Yeah.
At a certain point, starting to have to get up at 5 a.m. You know, and got to get that kick. But
that would do it.
But yeah, supplementation. Most people are deficient in magnesium.
Yeah.
So getting a good magnesium product.
Question about that though.
Yep.
Now I've heard it's better to take magnesium at night.
So the reason why most people would take magnesium at night is because it definitely has a calming effect on the nervous system.
Right.
Settles the nerves down. Also, vitamin B6 is great to take at night, and that's in most magnesium products.
Okay.
They pair it a lot of times with a B6.
Now there's multiple styles of magnesium.
Right. So magnesium glycinate is going to be the best.
More bioavailable too.
Yeah. It's just going to be more bioavailable, and it's just going to calm the nervous system down. The magnesium I take is an extended release magnesium glycinate from Life Extension that we carry at Twin Cities Live Well at GNC.
Plugging it up.
That's right. Damn right. Yeah. And I'm there Saturdays from 10 to 6. I do free nutritional consults. I'll look at your diet. I'll give you an in-body scan. We'll get you you can step on a machine that's like a scale. Plus, it'll also measure your body composition, so it'll let us know where you're at for your body fat percentages and all that kind of stuff. And that's a complimentary service we offer.
Come on, man! It's a scale, dude.
It's a scale.
How did that scale just tell me this?
Yeah,
all of a
exactly.
sudden? You know what I mean?
It sends up a little electrical flow through the body there. It connects from the tips of the toes all the way to the tips of the fingers that you're holding onto the handle there, and it gives us some feedback about impedance and water levels and stuff, and it can give us some good information about where to start.
This is fat.
Yeah, fuck is what it says.
Get off me, dude.
We got it programmed to be pretty vulgar, so no, no, but like, supplementation is one of those things where it's probably honestly best to, before you supplement, get your nutrition on point. Like, see how you're feeling, and with understanding regular meals where you're not depriving yourself of food, you're not depriving yourself of carbohydrates specifically, because so many people go the low carb route, and it works. It does work, especially like really low carb. There's no essential carbohydrate. So especially if you have a lot of weight to lose, going low carb could be something that helps you.
Now that's pulling back what?
Carbohydrates, breads,
and
starches.
okay.
Yeah. I mean, carbohydrates are anything like that either is sugar based or converts to sugar once ingested. Like starches, rice, potatoes, quinoa, this kind of stuff. Honey, like anything sweet, basically.
Right.
Your berries, all of your fruits, and a lot of your vegetables are actually carbohydrates as well.
Right.
But if you pull back those carbohydrates, I like, if you're gonna do carbohydrate like restriction, what I try to say is like, still don't go so low carb. Like, I think that there's like an electrolyte balance issue that's important, that carbohydrates play a function of, to keep things on the level there, like heart rate wise and just like recovery wise. I think there's a lot of benefits to good carbohydrates. What we talk about when we go low carb or we do carb restriction is just getting the shit carbs out of the way, and maybe even pulling starches like rices, potatoes, any kind of grains out, and just getting our carbohydrates from fruits and veggies. That's what I did with Tony.
Right.
We pulled grains out so here's the deal with grains in the United States. In the United States, most grains are sprayed with folic acid,
Right.
And 50% of the population can't it's supposed to be a replacement for folate, which is a B vitamin.
Right.
50% of the population on a genetic level can't digest or break down folic acid.
How do they get away with this shit?
Because the food producers. So there was this folic acid, there was this folate shortage in the food supply, right? So people were deficient. The population was noticeably deficient in this. And food production had a bunch of excess folic acid from other things that they make as a byproduct of other stuff.
Right.
And they figured out a way to, what if we sell it to the the food companies and they spray the grains with so now there's enriched with folic acid.
Right.
Well, 50% of the population gets an inflammatory response from folic acid. So all of your breads anything that you buy bread-wise in the grocery store, any of those cereals, all that stuff is sprayed heavily with super duper pesticides and like glyphosate and like Roundup kind of stuff.
Is that why your bread tastes so good all the time, dude?
It must be if you make your own bread. That's you're using good wheat, you're using good, if you can get actual like Italian like Durum wheat, like real wheat to make your own bread with, it's super fucking simple to make your own bread at home. He's shaking his head because you do it all the time. And it's way better, way tasty, and it actually has a nutritional benefit.
Right.
It can actually help you instead of hurt you, particularly if you consume like real sourdough, like sourdough
That's
bread.
his jam right there, man.
Super good for the gut health, super good for the
My wife's been
brain.
doing it a ton lately, too.
Yeah. So you're like 2 steps back from owning a farm. That's the same way where we're at. We're going to have goats and all kinds of shit.
They
man.
pretty much already do. Their fucking place is big enough to, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's...
Hell yeah. Yeah.
We got 4 acres. So.
Hell yeah, dude. Oh, man. I'm jealous. That's
It's
amazing.
Like 3/4 of it wooded, so.
Yeah, hey, good. Go get a deer. Feed your family. It's fantastic.
They
Yeah.
can just feed the possums, come up and fucking...
That's right, yeah.
Get some possum
Got
pie.
myself a street rat.
Yeah.
Gonna get me killed.
Yeah.
Right?
Those are her friends.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
That's right.
Yep. But no, I mean,
I'll probably get killed for that one.
supplementation wise, there's just a few things that folks, like a good multivitamin, something again that has, particularly with multivitamins, again, look for that methylated B12 instead of the cyanocobalamin. Look for methylcobalamin B12, and that's one way you can tell that a multivitamin is
quality.
legit. The quality is there, is that they're using, they're spending a little bit extra money to give you the good B12 instead of the shit stuff, the synthetic stuff that you
and the irony there is the better supplement that we have, better multivitamin that we have that has the methylated B12 costs less.
Yeah,
so.
it costs less than the...
That's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. So all this stuff is kind of hiding in plain sight, right? Like, and that's the idea, is that you just put it out there, and it's all this marketing push. It's all these fucking commercials on TV. Like, I've got a Amazon Fire Stick at home, and when I turn my fucking TV on, they pump the ad right to the home screen of the goddamn Fire Stick.
Yeah, and it didn't
They
do
didn't
that
wait
before.
till you get into the app. They're right there. So there's just this big push to get you to spend your money in certain ways. And unfortunately, in a capitalistic society like we have, you vote with your dollar.
Yeah.
So if you want more of something in this country, people have to take their spending and their energy and point it in that direction of what they want.
Right.
And that's how they'll get what they want, because above all else, we know that these companies listen to money.
Right.
That's all they listen to.
Right.
Except for
the whole podcast we've been talking about is basically the same.
It's the same thing, right? So like Kellogg's recently, there's been a lot of stuff about them in the news lately about how in 2015 they promised that by 2017 they would have all of the artificial food dyes pulled out of their cereals.
Right.
That anything that wasn't legal in Europe was going to be pulled out of the U.S.
Yeah.
Well, this fucking company is making healthier cereals for Canada and for the whole rest of the world, because they've banned most of the ingredients. And it's the same fucking company making the same fucking cereal, and they're selling the healthier version to other countries because they won't allow their shit ingredients. But here in the United States, because kids like the brighter colors, that's what the CEO said. The kids like the brighter colors. That's what we're gonna give them, and they're using artificial dyes that are made from oil, from engine oil, from petroleum, like legit petroleum.
Tastes
out of the
like a
ground.
Mustang.
And they're going, it's totally safe. And then just recently, they went up to Kellogg's with 450,000 signatures, and they stood outside Kellogg's headquarters out in Michigan, and they chanted and they tried to get, and Kellogg's basically said, "Get fucked. We don't care. We don't care.
Wow.
They even held up signs. The employees in the fucking Kellogg's building held up signs to the protesters saying, "Get off my lawn."
Wow.
Like, you couldn't see a company that gave a fuck less. So if you're still buying a Kellogg's products at all, fuck them. Fuck them in their faces till they die. Like, I don't
Same
care.
with Nestle, just the unfortunate part is that they own half the
I was gonna
product.
say,
Yeah,
then
yeah.
you don't even realize all the stuff that they own.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. It's
Talking about countries banning certain additives and stuff. It reminds me, John Wheeler just spent. I think
I saw his post about that.
Portugal, I think, is where him and his wife were, and he said that without trying, like, he wasn't trying to like eat better. He was eating till he was full, even going to fast food there, McDonald's,
Bars
whatever,
and stuff too. Yep.
bars and stuff, drinking his share.
Yep.
And he lost, like, what was it, like 30, 40 pounds?
Yeah,
or
something like
that?
between 25 and 40 pounds. I can't remember what it was,
Like,
but
give or take, yeah.
Well, that's the difference of eating real
But
food.
because it was, he's like, but the food, like, was just better. There was better ingredients. It was less shit. And he's like, I didn't go there trying to lose weight. I didn't go there, to like specifically get like to look, healthier or do anything. I ate the same amounts and the same kind of stuff, the same types of foods that
that he usually eats.
Here. You said he drank like a fish.
Yep.
And lost weight.
Yep, absolutely. Lost weight, came back, and then comes back, eats like 3 American meals, puts all that weight back on. I mean, that's a little bit of exaggeration there, but like that's what we hear about that experience all of the time. Like that's the story that keeps coming up. And so again, like when we get shit for asking questions and for saying this stuff about the food, like we get this pushback from certain folks, and I hate to like harp on this, but it's a lot of like university educated folks who are like, well, I need a randomized controlled study to see the evidence about that before I'm able to like make that decision. It's like, who the fuck hurt you as a kid? Why are you not able to see common sense shit like in front of your face?
Yeah, it's like you can see it.
And the fact is that science has become the new religion. Whether you want to fucking believe that or not, it's that we've gotten further and further away from nature, thinking of ourselves as so far above this, what call it God, call it energy, call it whatever the fuck you want to call it. I don't care. But we've gotten so far away from that we're waiting on fucking dudes in white coats to tell us what to do.
Right.
And that's absolute bullshit.
Right.
Deep in your fucking soul, it's in your fucking bones how to survive and the things to eat. And you know that when you're walking around that junk food aisle in the fucking grocery store that you're not doing yourself any favors.
Right.
So you need to be your own advocate, and you need none of these companies, none of these people
they're not watching out for you.
No one gives a fuck about you in that space, unfortunately, and you have to accept that. Exactly. All they care about is your fucking dollar. So don't give it to them.
Right.
Don't give it to them, because you're gonna wind up in the fucking urgent care waiting room going, God damn,
giving them more of your money.
My foot's gonna fall off because of this fucking diabetes, like for real. And it sounds like shit for me to say, but it's the truth, Like it's just the raw truth. There's so many people suffering right now, and if they would just make a few different choices with themselves, they could change everything, and in such a short amount of time comparatively. And you can stack years on your life, and feel entirely different about yourself with just a few simple steps, man. Just quit drinking. If you're over 40, especially, quit drinking alcohol.
Yeah.
There's no health benefit.
Right.
There's none. There's no amount.
But what about that glass of wine?
Yeah, exactly. That glass of wine with dinner, the little
antioxidants,
the little tiny bit of trans resveratrol that's in wine doesn't amount to like balance out all of the detrimental effects of alcohol.
Right.
There's not a fucking beer or booze on the planet that has a reason to ingest it healthfully.
Right.
It just doesn't exist. Focus on sleep. If you're looking to lose weight and you're looking to get into better shape, one of the best things you can do for your hormones in particular is sleep. Shut that fucking TV off, turn off that
phone, dude. Set your phone down.
Yep. Every phone now has the ability to pull red light out of it. So I can click my iPhone 3 times or pull blue light out of it, and my screen turns to red light, which is good for your eyes, especially at night.
Yeah, blue light will
fuck your circadian rhythm up past a certain time.
It like charges you more than it allows you to relax. Right?
Exactly. Yep. So you have literal clock cells in your body that are tied to the cycles of the fucking moon.
Right.
Like, and again, like we appease to these authorities of science and stuff. When we have clock cells
Right.
in our body, like we're waiting for some dude in a lab coat to tell us it's okay. No, man, we already have clock cells in our fucking body.
Right.
Like the moon.
TikTok, bitch.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Right.
So like, you know, going to bed at a reasonable time, making sure that, you know, if you got to get up at 5:30 in the morning to get to work, you probably should be going to bed like 9 hours before that, you know,
Right.
crawling into bed. And so you get around 7 to 8 hours of sleep by the time you actually get to sleep.
Going
and
to
stuff.
bed at midnight and waking up at 5 like I do every day.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. You don't have to do that. to
Super
yourself.
good for you.
But, you know, but there's always like, you got to, if you want to get a lot of shit done, you might have to sacrifice some sleep. You know,
Right.
sometimes the goals that you want to accomplish aren't always necessarily the best for your health. I experience this on a weekly basis because Dan and Alex like to get together late
Right.
for the reaping practices and
Right.
shit. 8 o'clock on a Tuesday. Fuck you, man. Are you kidding me? Oh God, that shit sucks.
Yeah.
Especially when you got to get up at 5 a.m. to coach somebody, and you got to show up and like be energetic and stuff. So sometimes the things we love to do, we've got to make that like. But then that's why your food needs to be on point,
Yeah, yeah.
right? And you need to go to the gym so you have more energy because it takes money to make money, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So you got to decide for yourself where you're gonna put those boundaries and make those sacrifices and stuff. But like, it's completely doable. It doesn't matter where your starting point is. You can always just do a little bit better. And if you just do a little bit better over time, consistently, that turns into a lot better really fucking quick.
Right.
Yep.
Badass, dude.
Yeah.
A lot of knowledge. You guys have a lot of knowledge, man.
Thank you.
He's the walking encyclopedia.
Well,
How do people get in touch with you to make this happen? How can they start?
Best way is probably to go to our website, lockeykeyfit.com. You can book a consultation with us there. Lots of information if you want to learn more as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
lots of testimonials from clients and stuff like that. Or you can just send
DM
us a
us.
message
Yeah,
on
we're friendly.
social media. Yeah. Yeah, ask whatever questions you have, and you know, we love to hear from people, and we try to provide a significant amount of value whether you sign up with us or not. So in our conversations that we have with potential clients in like our DMs and in emails and things like that, we try to, if we book a call with you, which is something we try to do, an initial call, because it's not just about you guys fitting in with us, right, as
Right.
clients. It's like we have to want to work with you as
Right.
coaches. Like it has to be a good fit.
Yeah.
So if we don't, we try to do a good job of like vetting clients before we bring them into the fold, because we've got to spend a significant amount of time together.
Right.
So we're going to do that process, and hopefully, but in that process, whether we decide to work together or not, we're going to give you probably a free resource or two. Probably we're going to at least give you our client grocery list.
Right.
Which we're happy to provide you to put it in the description. We can give you the link to that. You can put it in the description so anybody who clicks on this episode on YouTube or whatever would have access to not only our website but our
pretty
grocery list
awesome,
as
huh?
well.
Yeah.
So we'll at least get you a grocery list for all those folks that say like, oh shit, I don't know what to eat. We're going to make sure you know what to eat.
Yeah.
And then we're also going to probably give you, some ideas for some workouts, or we're going to listen to how you currently have your stuff structured and give you pointers to make it a little bit better. And that's regardless of whether we end up working together or not. Like our main mission is not to be out here like making thousands of dollars off the backs of people. We understand that this is an investment and that it's not for everybody.
Right.
But we also feel like we can do some really good work on just like giving some folks some starting places and
Yeah.
some jump off points
Yeah.
that can maybe make their lives a little better in the interim while they think about, or arrange their finances a certain way so they can come back around and maybe work with us later down the road.
Right.
But the main mission is helping people. And so, we definitely do payment plan stuff. We definitely, if you come to us and you're a person who's very adamant about making a change and stuff,
Sure.
your passion for doing that and your commitment to it just might end up determining, if we can swing a deal for you or
Sure.
work things out, because we're very open to those kinds of conversations.
Right.
Again, like the mission is helping people, not making money.
Right.
Yeah.
That's key, man.
Yeah,
That'll be
that's the
successful.
thing. I hope so. I mean, we've grown a ton over the last 2 years, and we've had the opportunity to really help a lot of folks, and I just want to see that continue to grow.
You just posted like